It's day 3 of training camp down in Foxborough. The Patriots will practice open to the public. Gates open at 10. Practice begins at 11 outside of Gillette Stadium. Among the headlines at camp yesterday, Joe Milton taking reps ahead of Bailey Zappi as the third quarterback. Devon Godshaw did not practice yesterday after participating in Wednesday's session. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott told reporters yesterday he wants to remain in Dallas, but says he doesn't fear playing elsewhere if they can't come to terms on a contract extension. Red Sox open up a 6-game homestand tonight. Yankees come to town for a 3-game series. Brian Bayo gets the start, 7:10 first pitch. Craig Breslow said yesterday Tristan Casas, who's been out since April with a rib injury, is taking batting practice and could soon begin a rehab assignment. Ahead of Tuesday's MLB trade deadline, the Mariners overnight trading 2 minor leaguers to the Rays for all-star outfielder Randy Arozarena. The Padres' Dylan Cease threw the second no-hitter in team history yesterday as they beat the Nationals 3-0. Opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympics are today. LeBron James and tennis star Coco Gauff will be the flag bearers for the Americans. And some Olympic events already underway. The U.S. women's soccer team winning their opener over Zambia 3-0. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by IBEW Local 103 and the Nika Electrical Contractors. For over 50 years, they've been powering the TD Garden, making sure it stays lit, safe, and ready for every game. Learn more at thepowerprofessionals.org. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. We got more headlines in around 30 minutes.
Listen to it, laugh at it, get mad at it, agree with it, argue about it. It is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. 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 Mm-hmm. Hello. Hello. Hello.
He's naked. He has a sword.
Oopity about with a football.
98.5 The Hub!
Bruins are back from the West Coast. Cocaine and hookers, yes! Na 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 na!
Is it okay to use this for the radio?
Yeah, welcome to the show, you sweet bitch. Oh. 48 miles per hour, come on, baby. Call 911.
I crashed my flying machine.
What a dumbass. That will never not make me laugh. Stupid people.
I crashed my flying machine.
Stupid people. They're out there. They're behind the wheel of the car next to you. Be careful.
Be careful right now,
Be
right?
careful out there. Be careful out there, because there's an idiot with a fan strapped to his back trying to fly. Friday morning of Toucher and Hardy. Good morning, everyone. Fred is off this weekend. He is in Charleston, South Carolina. We saw a picture of the ballpark he is going to be at on Instagram. You can go check that out. He is there to watch his son play. His son unable to pitch, but able to hit. So he will be there all weekend. Hardy taking a long weekend. My name is John Wallach. Michael Holly is here. Good morning.
What's up, John?
Good to see you again.
Good seeing you.
It's kind of odd being in this position because we worked together for how long at the other place? 5 years, 6 years?
Maybe even
like,
longer.
Longer
something
than that?
like that. Yeah, 6, 7.
You were always co-hosting with somebody else, and I was on your opposite side. So
Who shall not be named.
So
I wasn't going to say that, but yes, I'm doing a very good job.
This
of
is
trying
like
to
Aaron Rodgers, that other team I played for.
Well, I mean, if you were in my position, what would you do?
And listen,
So,
I thought you guys buried the hatchet.
actually, yes, I was hijacked one morning. Are you aware of what happened?
I was here that morning.
I heard about it.
Okay,
I heard about
so
this.
all right. So let's get this out of the way since Ryan brought it up. I was here co-hosting with Rich one day. Billy Jaffe was in as well, and Dale had just.
There's the culprit.
Dale had
blame Billy.
No,
common denominator.
No, I'm not blaming Billy.
No?
No.
Okay.
I'm not blaming. Billy was here though. I'm just kind of painting the picture for you. And I was sitting where you are sitting now, and Rich, who used to be the host on this show, was sitting here, and Billy was there, and we were talking Bruins, and it was the night after Dale had done his final game for Nesson. He was retiring. This was the big deal. And Billy was saying, oh, he's a great teammate. There's no one I'd rather work with than him. And Rich looks over at me, and I'm like, this is fantastic. I'm just going to be quiet at this point. And then what Rich did, unbeknownst to me, was he called Dale and had him on the air.
Come on, man.
I had no idea it was coming. Rich called him up. Everyone else knew.
You
but
would
me.
not have believed how uncomfortable this studio is.
Yes, I would believe it. Yes.
You were here.
No,
too.
I was here.
You were here.
Oh,
too.
yeah,
That's
I was
right.
here.
I would
Forgot about
believe
that.
it. Yeah, I would believe it.
If you're in my situation, I'm going to ask you, if you're in my situation at that moment and they're like, John, say hi to Dale, what would you have done?
You ever see Training Day? Denzel's Training Day? where he says, Jake, you disloyal, bleep, 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 bleep. He just goes on and on. You're going to do this to me? You're going to do that? I'm going to have your ass in Pelican Bay. You're going to do this to me?
I almost reached over and took Rich by the throat. It was very, very close. Ryan can attest to this. So they're like, so John, what do you have to say to Dale? And what I said to Dale was, congratulations. There are very few people in this market that have succeeded in both radio and television.
This is true.
You are one of them. Congratulations on a great career. That is what I said to him. And this is
bravo.
Well, thank you. I was actually proud of myself for not.
It was
saying
quite
other
the
things.
kumbaya moment. They were both very cordial and said very nice things about each other, and
so we buried the hatchet that day.
But not really.
You guys aren't going out to dinner like once a week now?
No,
since then,
you know what? I was at the main diner a couple of weeks ago. I had the Dale Arnold. Does that count?
You didn't.
Lobster roll. It's really good.
Yeah, bring that Dale Arnold out.
That's the problem.
What kind of cutlery you got here? Bring that out.
Yeah, give me the sharpest knife you have. No, the worst part is when your wife is in on the joke. And the kids, I went with the wife and kids. My dad has a place near there in Kennebunk. So the main diner is very close to that, about a 15-minute drive from there. So we go by there all the time. And so we stopped there for lunch. And my wife said really loud to me in the restaurant, why don't you have the Dale Arnold? So
that's great.
We've been married 17 years now, so she can get away with stuff like this. I have no say in this. So yeah, I said, okay, fine, get the Dale Arnold. So we got the Dale Arnold. That's it.
Listen, even if you've been married 10 years, you have no say in it. 5 years, you got no say in it. I'm just glad you know you have no say. 17 has nothing to do with it. You just have no say in it.
That was an according to Jim moment. Yes, that was a sitcom moment. But basically, that's what happened. That was the day. That was the day. I've never been so mad at Rich in my life as I was that moment.
Just in the name of good radio. It would be good radio.
Essentially, that's what happened. And so Billy, the best part was Billy was sitting there completely amused because Billy was in on the joke.
Yeah,
he understood
Billy
understood what was going on.
With Dale.
Yeah, and he immediately, as soon as he said best teammate I've ever worked with, he looked over at me. Like, okay, see, this is where we're going with.
You know what it was, Michael? It was kind of like when Maury or Springer would, have somebody on and they would be telling the sob story and like, well, guess who's backstage? Then
the audience goes, ah!
That's right. You are the father. That's the kind of moment I had.
Well, you guys have this dispute. Here's a DNA test right here.
I know.
We're going to discover today.
Oddly enough, I have not spoken to Dale since that day.
Not odd at all.
No, I've not. You work with him for a decade. How long were you working with him? You work with him middays and you work with him afternoons, did you not?
That's right. That's right.
So it was about a decade of time.
Yeah, about that. Out of I'd say about 9 or 10 years.
So, of course, you've gone out to lunch with him since he retired, right?
I have not.
Oh, that's too bad. Really?
I have not. I have not. But that's just because of, time, logistics.
Scheduling. I understand.
And it's just distance.
You got kids. You live in wildly different places.
Because I think he's in Maine, right? Doesn't he live in Maine?
I have no idea. Is he?
Okay. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Well,
Full
that's
time.
too bad. That's too bad. 617-779-0985. Michael Holly is here. Ryan Johnston is here. We'll be here until 10 o'clock.
But I don't want you to be diplomatic today.
That's fine.
Don't be diplomatic.
Was I not just forthcoming?
Yeah, you were.
What just happened?
That's right.
But
don't take the high road today. Like if RJ does something to you, because he probably is. I think he's got something planned.
Oh, good.
If he does something to you, don't be diplomatic with RJ.
Don't give it away, Michael.
That's fair enough.
Who's on hold right now?
Let's bring him out.
Let's go. I think you tell me yesterday. Usually, this is the time to take some calls. Let's go to the phone.
Let's go to the phone.
Someone's calling from Maine right now.
That's right. I'm sure he's listening. Watch Toucher and Hardy every morning on YouTube. Search 98.5 The Sports Hub on YouTube and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. Didn't we talk about this? We got to smash it. Smash the subscribe button to keep up to date
Tell your friends.
on
Smash
all
it.
the best moments from Boston's home for sports. 98.5 The Sports Hub. Hundreds of people are watching us as we speak this morning. I think probably more because you're a handsome guy.
Oh, yeah, as they should be. They should be watching.
Very handsome guy. By the way, Ryan, a very handsome guy with his own set of headphones. This is a big day for Michael.
Ryan.
Michael yesterday came in here. He didn't have headphones. We were running around like crazy to try and get headphones. Michael Holley, the first thing he said to me this morning is, check this out, because he had the headphones around the neck. Check this out, Wallach. See that? He's pointing at the headphones. Now, most of us, when given this problem, would have stopped on the way home, maybe go to Best Buy, maybe go to another place, buy a set of headphones. Michael Holley has decided, no, I'm going to order headphones and get it delivered to my house.
Yes, right.
Couldn't take the 5 minutes out of his way to go to the store.
I would have done exactly the same thing.
Oh, give me some. There it is.
Really?
No,
When's the
right.
last time I was in a store for anything other than groceries? I couldn't tell you.
Really?
I don't go
So
shopping
I'm the one
anything.
in the minority here who
Nope.
stops at stores to shop for
Why
things?
would you stop?
I've got an Amazon app on my phone. It'll be here tomorrow.
Exactly. But
Why?
Even better.
I can tell you why. I can tell you. I live in Natick. Have you been to Natick? You know the shopping
it's got
power
everything.
you
Yeah,
have in
there you
Natick.
go.
How many stores do I have within 5 minutes of me?
Yeah,
About
but
700.
you got to drive. You got to park. You got to walk. It's like no.
How lazy have we become as a society where
lazy.
this is the argument?
It's not lazy. It's taking advantage of resources. John, you have resources available
Time is
to you,
money.
and you're not taking advantage of them.
What time? How much money are you wasting, either one of you, by stopping 5 minutes out of your way?
No, you know what I use in
It's
those
not.
times?
It's you say it's 5 minutes out of your way, but that trip takes at least
is
a
not
half.
5
It's
right.
at least a half hour.
Oh, I'm
It's
sorry.
never 5 minutes.
30 minutes out of your way.
Nothing is 5 minutes. There's no. You think you live in Natick? You're close to all those 700 shops.
Yeah.
They're still not 5 minutes.
It's 5
away.
minutes to get there. It's 5
Exactly.
minutes to get home. It's 5 minutes to park. It's 5 minutes to walk into the store. It's 10 minutes standing in
And-
line. It's like it all adds up. It's not worth it.
And I told John yesterday. I told John and Hardy yesterday because
John, I've got like 150 jobs. I can't be spending 10 minutes in line
I
at
know
the Best Buy.
that's true.
it's like
What's your
I
excuse,
told him
Holly?
yesterday.
Yeah.
I went to TJ Maxx the other day. I didn't want to, but I went to TJ Maxx the other day.
Shopping.
Okay, but listen, this kind of
Something other than groceries.
One thing. I bought one thing. I go there. All I want to do is go there, buy the thing. Hey, take my money. Take my money and let me go. Give me a receipt. I don't even need a receipt. I don't need it. You go up there. Hey, how you doing today? I'm fine.
No small talk. Let's move it on.
Would you like to sign up for our? No, thanks. Well, do you shop here often? No, I don't. But if you do, you could. You know what? If you sign up for this card,
But sir, this could be the first of many
I'm like,
trips.
I don't want to. Just take the money. Just take the money. That's all I want you to do is take the money. Okay, here's the other thing. You can. How would you like your receipt? Would you like it paper? Would you like it print and email? I don't. Okay, forget it. No, pick one. You have to pick one. Okay, print it.
Okay.
Okay, I don't want that. So Hardy told me yesterday. He said, I got these headphones. All you have to do is go on Amazon. You can get them. They don't make them anymore, so a lot of them are like totally overpriced. But get this one; it's similar to the one you had before.
Same ones I've got.
And
Like,
I
they're
did. John, I ordered. I left the studio yesterday. I probably ordered these things at noon, 12:30. They were at my front door by 3:00. I mean, I said, now I don't have to ask because people don't understand. I've been coming in here every I don't know when I first came back here, came to the Sports Hub. So last year, since 2023, every time I've come into the studio, I've asked Dan O'Brien, or T-Bone, or Jimmy Stewart, or anybody, Nick, Lockhart, RJ, hey, you got any headphones?
Mm-hmm.
You got any? Every time I come into the studio, I ask for headphones. I'm like, this is lame. You know what?
What's also just kind of a personal
because
thing. Like, you got to wear them on your head for 4 hours.
Like,
I don't want to use somebody else's nasty, greasy headphones.
It's my big. This is a big moment for me. Not that I just because I have my own headphones. This symbolizes a return to radio.
Is that right?
Yeah, because the last time I did radio, February of 2018, at the other place.
Okay,
March of 2018. Okay, that's it. My son. My wife is emotional. Oh God, I can't believe you're like this is it. You're gonna do it. How do you feel? I'm like, yeah, it's a little different. 13 years there and the whole thing. My son says, "Oh, you're done? Can I get those headphones?" Yeah. So I said, "Sure." So I gave him the headphones, and that was it. Gave away my radio headphones. But see,
it's like an athlete hanging up the cleats.
But a purchase of radio headphones means I'm a radio guy.
Oh boy!
Now I'm a radio guy.
This is these headphones are his Michael Jordan facts. I'm back.
So this is number 45.
45.
Yeah, 45.
45. But then I have to switch back to 20.
I know. Then you got to go get the headphones from your kid.
Yeah. No, I said no. He come on. It's a kid.
He broke them a long time ago.
Broke them, whatever. Broke them, lost them.
I will admit, I have had run-ins with cashiers when I have shopped. I remember I was I think with Northborough, there was a Kohl's I was in. I forget what it was I was buying. And I had the same conversation. She's like, you know what? Do you want to sign up for the Kohl's card? Do you want to, and I'm like, no, thank you. I just would like to pay for this, whatever this was. This is like 3-4 years ago. And then she got upset with me. She's like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to save 20% right now by signing up for this. And I looked at her, and I really felt like, will you please? I almost said, just give me the damn whatever it was, jeans, whatever it was I was buying. I forget what it was. But instead, I put my stuff on the counter and walked away and didn't buy it.
Yeah, mind your business.
She was so taken aback by this that I said, congratulations, you just lost a sale. I'm done. I'm not buying anything here. Probably not again. Thank you.
And I walked away. You don't need to understand why. Why I'm not signing up.
I don't understand why you wouldn't want 20% off right now. And
because I don't need another report on my credit report.
I don't need any more emails. I don't need any of this. Why bother me with this? I'm trying to. Fred is famous for saying this. I'm trying to give you money. Why are you stopping me from giving you and your company money? I don't understand the theory here. But she pissed me off enough where I didn't spend the money. I just put it on the counter and walked away without saying anything.
You showed her, because I'm sure she was going to pocket at least half of your purchase.
No, it felt great, even though it was a minor thing and it's symbolic.
It's
principle,
awesome. RJ. It's the principle.
It felt incredible for me to do that.
He feels like a better person.
No, I was definitely not the better person that day.
I'm with you, though, because I should have done that the other day. I walked into this bakery, and I already had coffee. I had coffee from another establishment. Okay, I walk into a bakery. I got my coffee, so now I want a little something sweet with my coffee. I already got coffee, but you're a bakery. And, it's bakeries that they have all this other stuff now, too. You don't just have your sweet stuff. Hey, you have coffee, and you have, food, lunch stuff, and sometimes some of them have dinner stuff. But anyway, it was like early in the morning, you go in, and I order. He says, is that it? I said, yeah, that's it. We have coffee here, too. He's looking at my cup. Hey, man, listen. I know you have coffee, and I already have my coffee. Just give me my slice of cake.
That's when it gets personal. That's when it gets personal.
I've had your coffee before. It's fine. Am I, as a consumer, only supposed to just be loyal to you? I can't get anything else from anywhere else?
See, I'm going to take their side on this one. Because, that's akin to going into a restaurant and bringing your own side dish with you.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. It's not
if they are selling coffee and you bring an outside coffee in with you, that's unacceptable.
There's preparation involved. It costs a lot more than a cup of coffee. Cup of coffee in a place like that.
In a bakery.
bakery, bringing in outside coffee is not the same as like bringing in your own side of fries to a restaurant.
Or if I had gone into the bakery and I had my cookies already and I already had like a pie from somewhere else and I said, oh yeah, by the way, you give me yours. But anyway, even if I had done that, I'm coming in to pay for something. Like, don't worry about what my life. You care about my life? What I did 2 hours ago or 30 minutes ago? All you are.
But it's not 30 minutes ago. You're holding the cup of coffee.
Well, how long? But I bought this coffee about an hour ago. I still have it. Not longer. It was like 5 o'clock.
But we're not selling coffee in the studio here either.
But the point is, I already had it. And I had a day before I came into this bakery. Things were happening in my life.
I think that
before
was more,
I walked in here.
I think that was more his way of saying your outside coffee is not welcome in our store.
Hey, I wasn't sitting down.
What gives him the right to ban outside coffee from his store?
Because they're selling coffee.
Doesn't matter.
So you're just going to...
Coffee isn't a specialist point of thing. Everybody makes it.
I should have left it. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go on this bakery. I'm going to leave my coffee in the car out of respect for...
Yes.
No. Stop it.
No.
Stop.
No.
And
coffee is made everywhere. It's not a specialized thing anymore.
Oh, RJ, you're on their side.
I am.
Okay.
All
right.
They're trying to maintain a business here. You're bringing an outside.
And you know what helps you maintain a business? When somebody comes in and buys something,
be nice.
It's good for business.
Well, but I mean, all he did was was to make sure that you were aware that they also have coffee.
He was too snarky. I know that.
No, he had no idea there was coffee in a bakery.
I know there's coffee here.
Bakeries sell coffee
and tea. They have tea as well. If I had and I bought tea from there 3 days earlier. I've done this. I've been here before.
All right, 617-779-0985. Did I say, Dan, Town Fair Tire Studios? I did. We are inside the Town Fair Tire Studios here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. It's Toucher and Hardy for Friday. We got a lot going on this morning. Mark Daniels of Mass Live will be with us in about an hour. We'll talk Patriots training camp. Bert Breer, his normal Friday discussion with us. He is on an hour later today because Bert is joining us from Los Angeles. He was nice enough to get up early out on the West Coast. He'll be with us from 8 to 9. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, Jared Carabas, and we will talk Red Sox as the trade deadline creeps closer. We'll do what happened last night. Coming up next, we will discuss Patriots training camp and an interesting day in baseball. All of that around the corner. Toucher and Hardy for a Friday here on 98.5 The Sports. 10 o'clock, 617-779-0985 if you want to get involved. But first, it's time to go over what happened last night, and we'll start during the day yesterday. Patriots went through day 2 of training camp yesterday in Foxborough, and everyone there seemed to think, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was pretty much unanimous, that there was absolutely nothing remarkable about the practice at all. No news at all coming out. We literally had a dozen reporters, and it's hard to get, and you know this, Michael, football reporters to agree on anything, but everyone agreed that nothing happened yesterday. Very, very quiet at practice.
They did not agree that nothing happened. They agreed that something happened. They just didn't like what they saw.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. They
all agreed that
not enough talent on the field.
Offensively, that it was a bit of a disaster.
Yes.
My question for you guys is, I understand. Like, we're doing this. We do this every week. We're here yesterday. We're here today.
Mm-hmm.
Guys be here, next week. So you have to respond to what you see. But is the second practice enough for you to say, "Oh man, this is going to be a long year"? Is that like two practices?
Well, part of the problem is we're all very much aware of the talent or lack thereof up and down this roster in spots, offensive line, and whatever you want to say on the offensive side of the football. Now, no number one wide receiver. So I think that's the frame of reference when you're looking at what you see out on the field. You kind of half expect it to be that way, and then when you see the offense struggle, you make that conclusion. So I think in that regard, you can make that assumption after two practices.
But I don't. I don't after practice number 2, because some of this is expected. Like, even if you had the number one, let's say they traded for Brandon Ayuk.
Yep.
All right, so Ayuk is here, practice number 2, and you still have the offensive line issues that you're talking about. You still have Alex Van Pelt, new offensive coordinator. You've got 2 new quarterbacks who weren't here last year, and Jacoby Brissett and Drake May. Well, 3 of them, because Joe Milton wasn't here last year either. And the other rookies, and Ayuk would be new. I mean, my point is, if you're trying to install something on day 2, it's going to look a little raggedy.
It has more to do with the talent. More to do with the talent inside this new system than the system itself.
So you think that if they had like just all these great players and they have a new system, is this going to look pristine?
No. It might not.
It would look
pristine,
better, but it was still. I think there's some sloppiness there.
But
there's going to be some sloppiness.
I don't think even if people understand the system, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to succeed to the level that gets this team to a 500 record or close to a 9-8 or 8-9 season. I think regardless of if they understand the system or not, it's not going to look all that good.
So it sounds like you're taking the under.
Yes.
Are you?
I think 4. I think 4 is a good win total for this team.
Ooh.
That's insane.
I'm taking the over. I will take the over right now. There are a couple of things I feel very confident on, and that's one of them. Like
How over are you going?
Oh, it doesn't matter. I know it's going to be bad.
If you take 5 wins, that's not much different than what I think.
I would.
No, it's the difference between winning and losing the bet.
I understand that, but he's making it sound like, oh, you're way wrong. If
I
you
think
go
so.
5-12 and I go 4-13,
I'll
it's
tell you
basically
this,
the same.
John. But I'm going to go much higher than not just 5. I'll go much higher than that. I'm not saying 12, but I could see 7. I could see 7.
You and I are going to look over that schedule, and you tell me where 7 wins comes from.
But it's not just the schedule, because the schedule is always a little deceiving in July. And when we get closer to the season, like there's some team that we think is going to suck, like the Patriots, who won't.
This is creative because there's no possible way for me to prove him wrong.
Well, but he's right. I mean, because one of those teams is going to lose their quarterback during training
Something's
camp.
Something's going to happen. Right.
Stuff happens.
So you think over also? Not over, but way over like him.
I'm with him. I could see 7 wins for this team.
See 7 wins.
With the defense that they've got, they'll have a shot to win some of these games, sure.
Last year, and I wish we had. I really wish there had been a Patriots Hard Knocks for last year. I mean, they
don't make the playoffs this year. You're going to get it next summer.
But we've had, do your job parts 1, 2, and 3. It's kind of like the Isley Brothers, part 1, part 2, part 3, on their songs. All right, so we have had all the do your jobs and all the documentaries. But what we haven't had is just the inside, just to understand the dysfunction of last year. I mean, you think about all the things that went wrong last year. Think about an offense that gave you 13 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like historically bad in New England quarterback play, taking you back to the early 1990s. It was that bad. And yet, you won 4 games. You had coaches stabbing each other in the back. You had Bill Belichick distracted. You had Billy O'Brien. What was going on? Why wouldn't Bill Belichick give me the offensive staff that I wanted? You have Gerard Mayo walking around saying, I know something no one else does.
Mm-hmm.
I got the job. Like you have so much. You have people who are not qualified to be coaches on the coaching staff. Just so much mess. And yet you won 4 games.
All right, let's hear from the players yesterday. Christian Gonzalez and the defense did look good again. We talked about how the defense ruled the day and the offense didn't look good. But most importantly for the defense, he's back after missing a lot of last season.
We're focused on right now, really. We're focused on day 2, then tomorrow we're focused on day 3. And, just coming in and building and learning and, getting back on the field, getting back in the swing of things, and, we'll do our thing.
That's one guy I think is going to be spectacular this year. The flash that we got from him in the first month of the season, I think if he just carries that on, he's going to be as good as people say he's going to be. And it's not going to take very long for him to get there.
Yeah, I was surprised by him last year. I thought it was a good draft pick, but you know how this happens. I think, what was he, 17th?
Yeah, he landed in the Patriots' lap at 17.
So you look at it, and going into the draft, there were 2 corners I looked at and I said, man, if the Patriots ever wound up with one of these guys, they'd be in pretty good shape. It was Gonzalez and it was Witherspoon.
Yep.
And so, Witherspoon goes high, and then Seattle takes him in the top 5. And I'm sitting there like, why is Gonzalez falling? So your thought is something's got to be wrong with Gonzalez. There's nothing wrong with him. Maybe he's overrated. Not overrated. The thought about him in college was that, maybe, and I hate this cliche, but this is what people were saying. He didn't have enough dog in him. He doesn't have that dog in him. Oh, well.
He was plenty.
Yeah, he's got enough.
He's got plenty.
Yeah.
So that's young. That's youth on the
But
defensive
can he stay healthy?
side of the ball.
That's the only
Yes.
question.
That's youth on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, the Patriots drafted 2 receivers to hopefully get some push down the field. Jalen Polk is a rookie. However, he's expected by many to take a big step forward this season.
Whatever they need me to do, that's what I'm going to go do. If I got to go run with the 3s, the 4s, if I got to go do anything on special teams that they want me to do, I'm with it. So whatever's going to put this team in a position to go win games and change this thing around, I'm with it.
All right. Those 2 guys are nice. The real star of the show yesterday, Keon White. And I don't know if you remember when Keon White got drafted in the 2nd round, there's a big close-up of his face, and he was not happy.
Right.
He was looked aggressively upset, actually, after he got taken by the Patriots in the 2nd round, and he insisted, no, that's just how I look. That's, I have RBF. That's how it works. That
there are a lot of people like that.
I look
Right.
upset, but I'm really not upset. If you've seen pictures of him online, of him being interviewed by the media yesterday, he had that same face on, the exact same face. He had his shirt off. He had just practiced, but he looked like he was so angry that he was forced to sit there. So
I got to tell you, though, while I just pulled up Google images of Keon White, he kind of has resting bitch face.
Yeah.
He kind of does.
He's got it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pictures of him kind of looking pissed off.
Oh, he was pissed off yesterday, man, or at least it looked that way. So the media began firing questions at him for as long as possible to keep him there and to keep him angry. So he compared the head coach he has now to the head coach he had last year.
The biggest thing with Mayo is he treats you like an adult, and he says you're a professional, so you got to be one. And it's on us to come in here every day and act like a professional. And that's not any different from what Bill did. It's because we play in the National Football League, and you should expect nothing less.
Different delivery, though.
Less of a frown for sure. But
So
he talks about a frown.
He wanted to say so many other things and somehow reeled it back in that second sentence. He started off saying the obvious thing, but I wanted him to go that one step further, and he reeled it back in.
They're all saying it, aren't they? I mean, most of them are saying it. That it's a difference. And you know what? It's not really even about Belichick. It's some manager is out there from who got started in like 1988, dealing with people, leading people, and they're still trying to. So they're trying to figure out I led people like this in 1988, and it was successful. But now in 2024, it's more challenging. How do I lead people with emphasis without seeming out of touch? I mean, that's really what Bill Belichick, this is what this year is about for Bill Belichick. Stepping back after not taking a break for 50 years, literally has not taken a break. This is his first break in almost 50 years since he left college. He's been in the NFL longer than anybody in the history of football. He's coached longer consecutively than anybody in the history of football. And he's been around all these types, Bill Parcells, all these gruff, hey, do this. And if I call you a MF, okay, it's not personal, but get it done. And in 2024, nobody does that. And so you got to figure out, how do you lead people like they want to be led in this generation? It's completely different.
Well, it's good you bring this up because no one will know the answer to this more than you. You were embedded with the team. Do you think he can change? You saw it up close and personal. You saw how he led people, and then as a reporter later on, you saw his evolution or lack thereof over the years. Now that he has this year off, knowing what you know about the man, having been up close and personal with him behind the scenes, do you think he can change?
It's going to be hard. Probably not. Probably not. I mean, it's really difficult because think about it, John. He's done it a certain way and had success. See, like what drives you to change? It's
failure. Which is what happened the last 2 years he was here,
or longer. Probably you could say
he really crash landed last year. But
it's either not having success or the pursuit of something that you really, really want. So I think it's going to be difficult because this time last year, someone who was very well-connected, well-informed on the psychology of Bill Belichick said the most important thing to him is getting that Shula record. That's all he talks about. That's all he thinks about. I think his year away from football will kind of dampen his enthusiasm for the Shula record because he's going to have a good time doing media. He's going to have a good time. He's going to be well paid. I think it's going to be great for him, like spiritually, not in a religious sense, but just great for his well-being. And he may not coach again. He may not want to.
So you think this year will completely change his mind? Will flip his mind? He'll turn 180 degrees and turn it and be able to turn that off.
The combination of
because he's the guy he looked up to. Bill Parcells tried this, but it's kind of like an itch you can't scratch.
Well, but the combination of doing media and enjoying it, and also knowing if I come back into the league, I'm going to have to be different than I was the first time. I'm going to have to be a completely different day-to-day guy than I was. It doesn't work anymore. Or I'll say, like, it's not an exception. There are no exceptions now. Tell me somebody who does it and is successful.
No one does it. He's a dinosaur when it comes to the mentality of today's player. But
in a lot of sports, it doesn't work.
Up until now, up until the last 2-3 years, it did work for him. But you said it yourself. You don't think he can change. And he's had so much success doing it his way all of these years. I can completely see him saying, you know what? Just because it didn't work out in New England doesn't mean it won't work out somewhere else. He gets hired, say Dallas. And that's still a possibility, by the way. Say it's Dallas. Say he goes to Dallas. And Jerry Jones is like, you know what? I don't let people run my team except for a few players. I let Bill Parcells do it here. You do what you do. And I bet you anything, Parcells doesn't change, goes to Dallas and tries it again his way.
You mean Belichick?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, Belichick.
Well, and I just want to be clear. It's not that because I think players do. Great players want to be coached, and they want to be. But their definition of being coached hard in 2024 is different than it was in 1994. And so, can he do it? Can he do that and get players to buy in? Most of the time, those guys, you've seen, because they're not Belichick, you see the crashes of the Belichick disciples. The Belichick disciples crash hard because they're not him. Okay, they don't have the track record.
We've seen it over and over again.
And lately he hasn't had the track record, so he might crash too if he tries to do that.
We'll talk more Patriots with Mark Daniels coming up at 7:20. We'll take a break here, and when we come back, we'll talk baseball. Red Sox and otherwise, there was a no-hitter in Major League Baseball yesterday with some local ties. We'll get to that in a moment. Ryan Johnston has the headlines next on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
Anything for you, John.
John Wallach, Michael Holley, Ryan Johnston here on a Friday. Fred and Hardy both off today. Both will be back on Monday. Let's continue what happened last night. In our nation's capital yesterday, we had history for the San Diego Padres. I said in our nation's capital.
Yeah, but they did it very quietly.
We had history.
Right. Nobody was there, so no, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Under the radar.
History for the San Diego Padres.
The file looks corrupted, John. Hold
Okay. So that was going to be a highlight of Don Orsillo calling the second no-hitter.
It's a no-hitter. It's a no-hitter for Dylan Cease.
Abrams to right field. Johnson coming in. He makes the catch. No hits for the Nats. Dylan Cease throws a no-hitter. The second no-hitter in Padres history. There'll be a sea of San Diegans celebrating back home today.
That is Don Orsillo.
Of San Diegans.
San Diegans,
like
which is one of. Have you seen Don's social media? Have you watched? Do you subscribe? Do you follow Don Orsillo on Twitter? Or
you mean Don Tangelo?
That's right.
Yeah.
Don Tangelo. Or you can be part of the Dontourage, who follows Don Orsillo. Every once in a while, you get a picture of him with a big fish. You know, he's been fishing in the bay.
He's a hell of a cook.
I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for him.
Hey, this is a guy who was unceremoniously dumped from a job he never should have lost.
Right.
And they shipped him out about as far away as they could get him, and he landed in a good spot. So good for him.
Great situation for him.
It's the second no-hitter in Padres history. Dylan Cease, 28 years old, allowed 3 walks, struck out 9, gave up no hits, and a 3-0 win over the Washington Nationals.
He said, nice job, and I looked up and it was like 94 pitches, and I said, I feel great, and if we get through the next one in like 105, thankfully they let me talk him into it, and then here we are.
All right, so this deserves some discussion because we had this talk about Paul Skeens, the ace for the Pittsburgh Pirates who started the All-Star game for the National League. Skeens was at 95-ish, 99 pitches through 7, and they pulled him with a no-hitter. You had Dylan Cease, who was at 94 pitches through 7. They left. I mean, now you have books. Okay, we're at 95. You got to get him out of there. Dylan Cease, 28 years old. They left him in there. And you know what? 114 pitches isn't bad. He finished. He gets a no-hitter.
Okay. Yes. I'm glad they did it, too. And I'm glad he was able to, because he came out of this game and he's shaking hands. He did the whole, what pitchers do when the outing is over. He did that. But then he talked his way into it. They listened to his argument, and he made the argument, and he stayed in the game. Great. But I'll say, John, I can understand why modern managers say, I don't want to do that. Especially in the case of Skeens. He hasn't really pitched that much.
He's 74 innings into his MLB career. And as you said, he's a potential generational arm.
True. As a fan, and I get the reasoning for it, you're absolutely right. As a fan, though, a guy as dominant as that, I wanted to see him try. This is a situation where I'm like, okay, 94, give him the opportunity. If he gets it broken up, he gets it broken up. You can always pull him at 105 pitches. He didn't have a 1-run lead. He had a 3-run lead. Right. If you give up a base hit, it's not the end of the world. Skeens only had a 1-0 lead.
Well, I don't know if the 98.5 the Sports Hub research department can come up with this. How many no-hitters have we seen in the last 6 years? A bunch.
Yes. This is only the second one of this season.
Second one of this season, but what was it, a couple of seasons ago? It seemed like every other week
it's 7
we
or
had
8,
no hitters.
Right.
And so it doesn't have the allure. It's not as mysterious and as unattainable as it used to be. So it's kind of, I know it's still a big deal, but it's not like it was 15 or 20 years ago, which is more reason for some of these managers to say, no, it's not worth it.
So there were 9 in 2021. There were 4 last year.
9.
Or 4 2 years ago. There were 4 last year.
Look at that research. Just like that. Bam. Mm-hmm. RJ on top of it.
I can Google with the best of them.
9?
I really can.
9 in 2000.
I will put my Googling skills up against anyone.
9 in 2021?
Yeah.
He's on fire. The other story of this game is the fact that Don Orsillo called it. That is the 5th no-hitter that Don Orsillo has called in 23 years. That's got to be more than anybody else. I mean, he's called. San Diego Padres had never had a no-hitter thrown
until he got there.
Ursillo shows up. That's the second one in the last 3 years.
Don Tangelo strikes again.
Part of the Dontourage. He had 3 when he was here. He had Hideo Nomo. By the way,
wasn't that his first game?
That was the first game he ever called for Nesson, was the Nomo no-hitter in 2001. He had Clay Buchholz in his rookie season 2007. He had John Lester in 2008. 5 no-hitters he has called in his career.
He's up there now. I think the great,
great
Vin Scully.
I was going to say, you know how many Vin Scully called?
How many?
20.
20 of them.
20 no-hitters, 3 perfect games for Vin Scully.
He had Koufax. That wasn't fair.
Yeah. And
he had Koufax in the early 60s.
He called the Don Larson no-hitter, too. That's the perfect game. That was Vin Scully was behind the mic for that.
So with 5, Ursillo, this is what he might want to consider doing what I'm sure Scully did. Because at one point, one of Scully's no-hitters is in Best American Sports Writing.
Yes.
Because of the, literary allusions and all that kind of stuff. Hey, Don, get it ready, baby. You know another one's coming. So
it's very true.
So get your script ready.
No one knows how to call a no-hitter.
Did they count the one for the love of the game for Vin Scully being behind the mic?
Oh, that's a good point. That was a perfect game. That was a perfect game for Billy Chappell. I get any points for knowing the pitcher's name? No, probably not. That's okay. 617-779-0985. 1 hour down, 3 hours to go. We'll talk Red Sox. We have Ryan coming up at the headlines at the top of the hour, and then we'll discuss the Red Sox trade deadline only 4 days away. We'll discuss baseball. We'll continue baseball here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Melbourne. Among the headlines yesterday, Joe Milton taking reps ahead of Bailey Zappi as the team's third quarterback. Defensive lineman Devon Godshaw did not practice yesterday after he took part on Wednesday. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott told reporters yesterday he does want to remain in Dallas, but said he also doesn't fear playing elsewhere if he and the team can't come to terms on a contract extension. Red Sox are back home to start a 3-game series with the Yankees tonight. Brian Bayo on the mound, 7:10 first pitch. Craig Breslow said yesterday Tristan Casas getting ready to begin a rehab assignment. He's been taking batting practice. The rib injury is healing up well. Thank you. Ahead of Tuesday's MLB trade deadline, Mariners overnight trading 2 minor leaguers to Tampa in exchange for all-star outfielder Randy Arozarena. Padres' Dylan Cease threw the second no-hitter in team history yesterday as they beat the Nationals 3-0. Opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympics today. LeBron James and tennis star Coco Gauff will be the flag bearers for the American team, and some Olympic events already underway, including U.S. women's soccer team who won their opener last night over Zambia 3-0. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Dr. Matthew Lopresti and Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, the hair doctor of Charlie McAvoy at 1-800-GET-HAIR. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. More headlines in 30 minutes.
This is Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown turns the corner. Finger roll is up and good. Score to the foul.
Listen to home of the Boston Celtics, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You're listening to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hour number 2 of the show. Fred and Hardy both off today, both back on Monday. John Wallach, Michael Holley, Ryan Johnson until 10 a.m. Coming up at 7:20, we will talk to Mark Daniels of Mass Live, and we will speak to him about Patriots training camp. We'll get back into football then, but we were talking about baseball before the break. I wanted to continue that discussion now. Red Sox had last night off. They play the struggling Yankees at Fenway Park tonight. Yankees have lost 20 of their last 29 games and are really having problems scoring runs. The pitching, which was pretty good for them, has not been good over the last 2 or 3 weeks. But the deadline, the trade deadline, is 4 days from now. The heat is on for Craig Breslow to actually do something to improve a young team that has wildly overachieved. Breslow said this week he's going to look for help, and reports within the last 24 hours have him reaching out to the Dodgers about lefty James Paxton, who was just designated for assignment, and him also reaching out to his old team, the Cubs, about pitcher Jamison Taillon, who has an ERA of under 4 for Chicago. But then there's Sam Kennedy yesterday. He gave an interview to Mass Live, and he said, quote, "We're obviously looking to try and prove where we can. You never want to publicly make bold proclamations or assurances because I just don't know how this market's going to develop, but we stand behind Brez and his comments." I'm really not sure how to take that at all.
Scolded him. That's a public scolding. Come on, rookie. Don't do that. Don't say you're going to do something. I need you to keep being vague about your plans. Don't tell people we're going to make a move, because then we don't make a move. It's more bad PR for us.
But it's just it.
But now I'm with Breslow on this one.
This is, of course, you want to help out a team that's playing its heart out. But at the same time, this shows you the dynamic of the front office. I mean, it shows you that it wasn't Chaim Bloom's fault. Now, Bloom was not a good man for trades. He was not a good guy, not a good trader. But at the same time, he wanted to do things, and ownership didn't. You see that same dynamic right now.
Well, let me tell you, give you another dynamic of the front office that's a little strange. I mean, you talked about Alex Cora and how he's coming back to the Red Sox and second highest paid manager in baseball. Yeah. You've had Sam Kennedy talking about Breslow, talking about Cora. Hey, Breslow was comfortable, and he really, these guys working together. You've heard that. You know what you haven't heard a peep from? Anyone in ownership. No one in ownership said anything about Alex Cora's contract extension. You would think that this would be a great moment for the organization to crow a bit, because, hey, you guys all thought that Alex Cora, lame duck, he's going to be out of here, and we would cheap out, and we're not going to invest in the team. Here we are investing. We believe in Alex Cora, but you have Sam Kennedy saying, core as the face of the franchise. No John Henry anywhere.
It's good you brought that up because I've long believed, and I'm far from alone in this, that ownership has lost track of the team or doesn't care.
Checked out.
And, they tried Tom Werner speaking to the media. That, of course, did not go well at all. Tom Werner knows nothing about baseball. I think we can all agree on this. He's been a TV and entertainment guy.
He was almost the commissioner.
I know. And he was the runner-up to
Rob nothing about baseball. He was almost the commissioner of Major League Baseball.
That should tell you what Major League Baseball is.
The commissioner who called the World Series trophy just a hunk of metal. Wasn't that his line? Rob Manfred's line?
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. It's just a hunk of metal.
But a lot of people forget that if Rob Manfred was not the commissioner of this league, it would have been Tom Werner. He was the runner-up in the balloting among the owners. And thank God that did not happen. You can say what you want about Rob Manfred, but he's far better than the alternative. Tom Werner can't run this team, let alone an entire
Major League
league.
Baseball. But I would say for Breslow and those names you mentioned, there you go. That's exactly what you need to do if you're the Red Sox. I mean, we know what their big weakness is. I mean, I think they need a starting pitcher. So Paxton, he's DFA'd, so that's not great. But you need a starting pitcher, and you probably need 2 more bullpen guys.
Well, you also need a right-handed bat. And we said this last week. The bare minimum the Red Sox could do would be to get a guy like James Paxton, and then if you really continue to go the cheap out route, go talk to Toronto about Justin Turner. Turner, both guys
right.
Turner
Been
performed
here.
well
Right.
for you last year. He's not performing well this year for Toronto, but he's a guy you're familiar with. He can help balance out your lineup. That's the bare minimum. Now, if you really want to push and compete for a playoff spot, you need at least one bullpen arm also. I mean, you saw what the bullpen looks like without Kenley Jansen.
That's my point, man. You're not going to get all of those guys, though. All your needs, you're not going to get them. I mean,
those are the needs.
Just math-wise. So, like, if you're adding these people to the roster and before September call-up, so let's say you bring in 4 people. You got 4. Like, so who's out? What are you doing? Like, how are you shaping the roster?
I have no trouble. Are you talking about the bullpen?
Yeah,
I have no trouble shipping out the cavalcade of nameless, faceless guys that they bring in.
Get them all out.
Well, I mean, do we really need Cam Boozer in the bullpen? I don't think so.
Right.
Brian Berardino is a lefty, and he's been valuable at times. But if you told me we were getting rid of him, I really wouldn't be angry about this. They have the Red Sox, ever since Chaim Bloom took over, have been shopping at, well, this is an antiquated store, Building 19.
Right.
They've been shopping off the bargain rack at Building 19. They are
just go to Amazon,
picking
man.
through. All right. If I want headphones or a reliever, just go to Amazon.
Just go to Amazon.
Don't go shopping at a store. We found that out in the first hour. Don't go to a brick and mortar place. All you brick and mortar people, those people that go to work, don't worry. None of us are coming to see you. We're all shopping online.
Shop online.
Kill the brick and mortar people. That's what you guys are all about.
Like 10 minutes away from my house, they are turning what used to be a Sears into a casino. That's the state of malls in America these days.
Yeah, Sears.
Yeah.
They're still there.
They used to be.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a Sears?
There was. They're turning it into it. I'm not making this up. In Nashua, there is going to be a casino in the mall where the Sears used to be.
That's good business.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, but that's New Hampshire. That's lawless, man. Anything goes in New Hampshire. Get rid of everything. Just bring in fire. You want fireworks? Go to New Hampshire.
Go ahead, do it. Yeah, right, exactly.
You want fireworks? You want to light up bottle rockets? Come on in.
No problem.
We'll sell you anything you want.
Anything except weed.
That's true.
That's the one thing that they don't allow.
For years and years and years. Online betting, come on over the border, park in the parking lot.
That's what I used to do.
They don't allow weed in New Hampshire?
That's the one thing they don't have.
So how's this in the spirit of live free or die?
I know.
What's the logic there?
They keep every year it comes up and every year it gets turned down.
Come on. You got to live a little.
Live free, no
pot. You got to live a little.
I mean, they're literally surrounded.
Live a little.
They're surrounded on all sides by pot states, and they won't do it.
I know. That's the really weird dynamic. You have Vermont right next door, where how
that
much,
was the free exchange for quite a while up in my neck of the woods. It's like those of us in Massachusetts would go into New Hampshire and buy booze and place our bets, and the people from New Hampshire would flood down across the border to all the weed stores that are in Massachusetts.
I was just going to say, why not just hop on 89, go to Vermont, and buy there?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
They do.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. I think that would be perfect. Red Sox need at least 3 or 4 guys.
The Red Sox need weed.
They need weed. They need something. And the question is, how much are they going to overextend? But I can see Breslow and Kennedy butting heads many times over the next 4 days. I want this guy. No, you can't have that guy. I want to make a major move. No, we're not paying for that salary. I could completely see that. I think Breslow has wanted to do things for months and has been held back. And why wouldn't you? I thought this team was going to win 73 games and miss the playoffs. This team is 1 game out of a playoff spot. Why not invest in it? Get some goodwill.
I'm not sure,
Fans
John.
are assuming the worst about this team.
You're giving him
some goodwill here.
You're giving Breslow some credit. I'm not sure I'm there yet because Kennedy put Breslow in the statement. He made it sound like that the signing of Cora was on Breslow, which I really find hard to believe. I find it hard to believe that that's Breslow's decision. So you're not going to let Breslow talks in circles when you ask him, are you in or out? He never gives you a straight answer on that. He is a first-year general manager after 10 people turned the job down. And he's going to be responsible for making Alex Cora the second highest paid manager in baseball. I don't buy it.
No. The money doesn't come from Breslow.
So the money doesn't come from Breslow. I don't think the decision came from Breslow.
Would you believe that this was a PR stunt? And by that I mean they didn't want to pay Cora all that money. They bungled the negotiation last off season, but now they see that there is so much anger towards the team and towards ownership, they needed to create some goodwill.
Right.
So they spent the money to make sure that people understand, oh, no, we care. We care. Here, this guy who's squeezing as much blood out of this stone.
What does that buy them 4 days of positive PR? If they don't make a decent deal at the deadline, people are going to be pissed. Well, it doesn't matter if Alex Cora is staying or not. I also don't believe Alex Cora commits to that deal unless he thinks that the team's going to improve.
Well, okay, first of all.
Because what did he get out of this contract that he wouldn't have gotten on the free market?
Well, but
actually, Michael had a good point.
Yeah, everybody says this about the free market. All right, what market are we talking about? The market is based on some assumptions. If you're trying to make a multi-million-dollar decision, you're going to make it based on the hope that the Yankees fire their manager, that the Dodgers fire their manager, right? Or that some really good team is going to have disappointment in the postseason and the job is going to be there for you. Because if you look at every other team in baseball, I looked at this the other day, all the teams with losing records, I want no parts of any of them. If I'm Alex Cora, not a single team with the losing record right now in baseball. Let's say, 15 teams, 16 teams?
Been there, done that. Been dealing with that the last 2 years.
I'm not interested in the Angels. I'm not interested in, big market in LA, but it's still the LA Angels. It's not the Dodgers. So really the market is limited based on what we know right now. And if those jobs come open, okay, so the Yankees job comes open. Aaron Boone gets fired. They continue this bad stretch that John just talked about. They flame out in the first round of the playoffs. Alex Cora's the guy. They're going to the Yankees. We didn't get it done. Aaron Boone.
How many World Series winning managers are going to be on the market at the same time?
Oh, okay, but it's not just he's not just a World Series winning manager. He's a World Series winning manager with a little bit of baggage that they've reconciled here. But other markets, I don't know how they feel about it. I don't know how the Yankees feel about the cheating scandal.
They wouldn't care.
What?
Why would they care?
Why would they care? Why did the Red Sox fire him in the first place?
Because they had to.
Okay, they fired him. They brought him back. The Red Sox are fine with it, and I think he's appreciative that they brought him back. But if he hits the market, if the Red Sox do what John expected them to do, they'll win more than 73. Let's say they win 80. Let's say they don't add to the pitching staff.
Just get over 78.5.
They don't add to it. All right, so 79.
Well, by the way, Ryan had a bad beat last year.
All right.
Yeah.
How confident are you?
I'm not loving the 1-5 stretch out of the All-Star break. Let me tell you.
So Ryan, let's say they go 79. For your purposes, I want you to win this bet.
Yeah.
They go 79 and 83. So then that would mean Cora hits the market. He had 2 78 and 84s, 1 79 and 83. That World Series victory by the time we get to 25, 7 years ago, and now he's on the market, and people are banging down the door for that? I just don't think so.
I think they are, because I think those around Major League Baseball would look at what he's had to work with here these last few years and say it's understandable that their record was what it was. And by the way, this team, I mean, they would at that point have fairly crashed and burned down the stretch, so I get that point. But a 79-win team feels like overachieving based on where this team was at the beginning of the year. So, yeah, if I'm a team that even thinks I'm sniffing a contention for a World Series, yeah, I'd be interested in Alex Cora.
If you're the Yankees right now, let's play along. The Yankees or Dodgers. So the Dodgers have won like 100 straight NL West titles, only one World Series to show for it in COVID, over that Tampa Bay team that just lost its mind and
kicked away a chance to win.
Just took out a pitcher who was dominating the game because of analytics.
Pitch count, yep.
All right. The Dodgers fire Dave Roberts and say, Alex Cora is our guy, and we're going to pay him $9 million.
Sure.
You think so?
It's not like the Dodgers are shy about spending the money.
The Dodgers, that's not my point. The point is, why do we think that Alex Cora is the number one manager? I just don't see that. I think he's done it, and I like him. But I don't think the reputation in baseball is like, oh, my God, if you get Alex Cora, it will change your franchise. I don't think that's his reputation
for
in baseball.
A team like the Dodgers, who are a legitimate every year World Series contender with that roster and the way that they spend. I think you look at Alex Cora and say, here's a guy that, given the right team, and we've got what we think is the right team, wins multiple World Series.
There's also the possibility that the Yankees add and they go on and win, and Boone doesn't get fired. And there's a chance that the Dodgers make the World Series and Dave Roberts doesn't get fired, and Alex Cora, after turning down that contract, doesn't have the options he thought he had. We got to take a break here.
Yes, we do.
We have Mark Daniels of Mass Live. We're going to dive back into the Patriots. Day 2 of training camp. Nothing particularly happened, but we're going to try and drum up some interest. Joe Milton. Joe Milton's the number 3 guy. That's
rising
right.
up the depth chart.
We'll talk about his cannon arm and how awesome he looked.
Tyquan Thornton, best receiver of the day yesterday.
With Mark Daniels coming up next. It's a Friday edition of Toucher and Holly. Toucher and Holly. Of Toucher and Hardy here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. John Wallach, Michael Hawley, Ryan Johnston here until 10 o'clock. Boys will be back in on Monday morning. Mark Daniels covers the Patriots from MassLive.com. He joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Day 2 of camp in the books. Day 3 right in front of us. Mark, can you smell the football? Are you excited about the football?
Hey guys, I will be excited when Pats come on Monday. It's been fun, end of summer break for a lot of us Patriot beat writers. But, I'd say what's going on right now is a continuation of OTAs and minicamp. But, come Monday when Pats come on, we'll see some real football and, maybe we'll see something new. But it's been fun.
We were talking about this in the first hour of the show, that you and a lot of other people who are there following this team day to day, you were pretty much unanimous that nothing happened yesterday, which I find amusing because there are a lot of different, training camp battles, but all anyone seems to be talking about is that Joe Milton took more snaps as third-string quarterback than Bailey Zappi.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it was kind of like check down city with a lot of the team drills, which it's not always that exciting. I feel like the QB stats I like to take are kind of misleading. It was like, oh yeah, Jacoby Brissett goes 8 of 11, and Drake May went 10 of 12 with a drop. But most of those passes were safe and easy, and it sort of feels to me like with Gerard Mayo, they're slowly ramping this up, which doesn't always make for the most entertaining practices. Honestly, most of practice was position drills, which and without pads, it's like, what are you really watching? So, yeah, the biggest storyline yesterday was Bailey Zappi kind of going down to number 4 with Joe Milton moving up to number 3. It was not the most entertaining thing in the world. But, hey, listen, if Bailey Zappi is number 4 again today and then number 4 again on Sunday, it might be the end of Zappi hour.
Then I
Let's
think
hope so.
that would be really
Let's hope
terrible.
so.
Boy, I hope that doesn't happen. The two
Does it have to be an hour?
That's right. The two major stories, honestly, obviously, are the offensive line and how they are a bit jumbled at the moment. The defense had their way yesterday, and the status of Devon Godshaw and Matthew Judon, who seem to be taking two very different routes to getting what it is they want.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, Matthew Judon comes out and gives what I would say might be the most honest press conference I've ever been a part of. Now entering my 10th season as a Patriots beat writer, just really told us what he thought of his contract, that he didn't like it. He'll play on it because he has no choice. But he also said, in an interview earlier this offseason, that he thought what he did last year, holding in, was, quote, trash. So he sort of learned from it, and he's not going to go about that. But he was very vocal, and I was like, oh, this is 9 minutes of just pure awesomeness. How often do we get this in New England? A player just honestly talking to us about his dissatisfaction with his contract. Compare that to Devon Godshaw, who, was here day 1, kind of held in minicamp, didn't do anything. And then day 2, he kind of arrives late and doesn't do anything. I mean, this is a veteran defensive tackle making somewhere around the $7 million mark. So I wouldn't say he's underpaid, but he lacks guarantees. You're an older defensive tackle on a good defense. How much leverage do you have? And we're gonna see. I mean, it's such a new era too, right? With Gerard Mayo and Elliot Wolf running the show. Maybe things would have went differently with Bill Belichick, but I think some of these guys, they see their teammates getting paid. I mean, hell, the Patriots extended Christian Barmore and Ramondre Stevenson a year early. That stuff just didn't happen in the last 20 years. So there's going to be some hurt feelings, and we'll see if these guys, get what they want or, request a trade. It's interesting, though. I mean, a little bit of contract drama to start camp. I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take it, too, Mark. I don't realize, I shouldn't say I don't realize. I don't know how nosy you are or how good at lip reading you are, but we understand that Robert Kraft and Judon were having an extended conversation yesterday after that very honest press conference that you mentioned, where Judon says, hey, listen, I was a little resentful, a little bit jealous when I see these guys get these deals, but I'm happy for them. Is there any connection between that Judon press conversation with Robert Kraft and Judon, and then Kraft goes on to talk to Elliot Wolf and Mayo? Do you think anything is brewing there for Judon?
It didn't seem like a coincidence. It was very interesting. It happens, right on the practice field in front of the media and fans, that he does talk to Matthew Judon, and then his next conversation is with Elliot Wolf and Gerard Mayo. You like to think so, right? You like to think that there was a connection there, but I would imagine Robert Kraft was telling Matthew Judon like how much he appreciates him and he hopes they can get something done. Like, listen, Matthew Judon has been the best player on the Patriots roster the last 3 years, which is, kind of crazy, really. Like, you think like the post Tom Brady era, like the best player here has been Matthew Judon. And,
you think so though? I mean, I know the stats say that, but there's some competition. Defensively, we talked about it a bit yesterday. You got Barmore out there. You got Peppers, Duggar. Hell, I mean, I think Bentley. Quiet. We never talk about Bentley. Bentley has been fantastic too for them. But you think Judon clearly is like the number one guy the last 3 years?
Yeah, and maybe the last 2 out of the 3. I mean, he played 4 games last year, and I think Christian Barmore was the best player on the team last year with Judon hurt. But the previous 2 years, he had 12.5 sacks and then 15.5 sacks. He was an absolute beast in 2022. But a guy like that, like, sure, you'd love to see the organization, show him some love. But the problem is he's about to turn 32 years old. He played in 4 games last year, right? Entering a contract year. He has absolutely no leverage. Maybe some type of compromise is in the works where they'll give him some type of bump. Or what did the Patriots do with Tom Brady the last year of his contract when he was unhappy? They gave him some incentives to like try to hit. Like, all right, you were injured last year. See if you can reach these type of numbers and you can get more money. Maybe some type of haircut like that would help out the situation. But I'd say Matthew Judon has some star power. The red sleeves, the red sleeves, I'd say in the post-Tom Brady era has brought this team some star power, and they very much lack it right now.
Tyquan Thornton was, by all accounts, the best receiver at camp yesterday.
Oh, let's hear it.
Jalen Reagor's catch on day 1 seemed to be the headline.
Let's hear it. Play him. Start him.
How concerned should we be about the wide receiver position on this team?
If this was like the 3rd week in August, I would be very concerned. It's been interesting, though, because Kendrick Bourne's on the PUP list. Mario Douglas is limited with a hand injury, so he's not participating in team drills. So, like, listen, someone has to catch passes, and who's going to be consistent out of this group? And I'd say through the first 2 days, the most consistent player not wearing pads has been Tyquan Thornton, right? And it's not completely unheard of that he plays well without pads, right? And
he's really fast.
Yes, wow. he's popped off in training camp before. The thing with him, though, when pads come on Monday, can he keep it up and can he stay healthy? Because, guys, he didn't stay healthy in minicamp. That was the thing. He had a strong spring. He looked good in OTAs. He was probably one of their best receivers in OTAs, but he didn't finish minicamp. And that's kind of his thing. I mean, last year, he made a diving 40-yard catch from Mac Jones and injured his shoulder doing so and ended up on the IR. The year before, he had a decent preseason for a rookie. First preseason game, breaks his collarbone. Yeah. So this guy has to show, 1, that he can stay healthy, but 2, that he can get separation when he has the pads come on. So sort of a similar story for Tyquan Thornton. And I get why everyone's rolling their eyes. But yeah, Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Reagor, and I'd throw in the rookies there too. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker have probably been their 4 best receivers. The names I have not mentioned are Juju Smith-Schuster, who I'm not sure he can separate guys, which is not what you want to see from your highest paid receiver. And KJ Osborne has been okay, but I want to see more from him. So like, hey, yeah, there's a heavy roster battle going on right now between that, 4th and 5th and 6th receiver spot in the team.
Can you see a world where Schuster does not make this team?
Yeah, absolutely. They have enough cap space. They could eat the $12 million. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't bring special teams value. He's not getting open consistently, not wearing pads. Like, listen, Juju Smith-Schuster isn't a bad guy, and I've been told that like younger players really like him. He's been around, he's had some success, he's been, he has like good words of wisdom. That's great. He's like a good locker room guy, I've been told. But if you're making $12 million and you're not getting open, wouldn't you much rather just take a chance with, honestly, a Tyquan Thornton or a Kayshon Boutte or Jalen Reagor, who had a kickoff return touchdown last year in Buffalo? Like, he brings special teams ability at least. Like, so I'd rather take a chance with those guys than Juju if Juju can improve here.
Put a percentage on this. What percentage chance does Drake May have a chance? What percentage chance does Drake May have of being the starting quarterback in a month?
Yeah, I'd say like 1 in 4, 25% right now. I think looking at how these practices have gone, it seems to me like they're trying to get Jacoby Brissett ready for week 1. He's consistently getting the most reps. He's getting all the first team reps. He's just, listen, he's not Tom Brady and he's not a top 10 quarterback, but what he brings is knowledge to a new offensive scheme. Other players have talked about how helpful he's been with this new playbook, and I really think they're getting Jacoby Brissett ready to start the season. And another caveat here, guys, is the offensive line. We still don't know who the 5 guys are that are going to start. I mean, right tackle, day 1 was Calvin Anderson. Day 2 was Vidarian Lowe. We'll see what day 3 brings, but it wouldn't shock me if it was like Caden Wallace or someone else. So, like, you have uncertainty at a very important tackle spot. I don't want to see a rookie quarterback behind that. I really don't. So I think Jacoby Brissett will start, but Drake May's having a good camp. And again, it's been check down city. These have been easy, I'd say, completions. Like, he makes quick reads and he's dumping it off fine. But, I think he'll have to do a lot more than that than pass the veteran.
Stats aside on Drake May, and just forget about, whether he starts or not. I think you guys are wrong. He will start. But anyway, I don't want to get into that argument. Okay. No, I'm just wonder, Mark, just what you think of him physically. Like, what did you think of him as a prospect? What did you think when the Patriots drafted him? Just your thoughts on Drake May in general and what you think his upside is.
Yeah, I'm really excited. He's a lot bigger than the guys who were back there last year, and Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. He's more athletic. His throws on the run are really impressive. Like, he has a good arm. He can throw a nice deep ball. It's something we haven't seen in a while. But even some of the, like, him running out of the pocket and then throwing sort of like, unbalanced, you're like, all right, this kid has it. He has the arm talent. And also, I'd say he escapes out of the pocket and runs for first downs. So, like, he has the mobility, and he's like, he's not as big as Josh Allen, but he has a Josh Allen type build, and he has a big arm. So I'm really excited. I think he has huge upside. I loved him as a prospect. And, like, I should have been biased because my last name is Daniels, and having Jaden Daniels on the Patriots would have made Christmas easy for me and my family, but I was a Drake May guy all the way. I thought he was the number 2 quarterback in the class. So I was thrilled. And so far, I think it's been as advertised. He's young. Listen, there's a lot of things he's doing that he wasn't doing in college, like taking snaps behind center. The way he's asked to drop back in the shotgun formation is different under Alex Van Pelt. The playbook is new. So that he's raw. There's some rawness here, but I've been impressed. His mobility, his athleticism, his arm, his size. This could be a fun one if it all works out.
All right, Mark, real quick, what's the schedule look like the next few days so fans can plan accordingly?
Yeah, practice today. Gates open at 11. The Patriots are off tomorrow on Saturday. They're back with their last non-padded practice on Sunday. I think that's another 11 a.m. And then next Monday is the big one. Fans want to go to training camp. Go next week. Monday, pads come on and real football starts.
All right, Mark Daniels covers the Patriots from MassLive.com. You can check him out there. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. There's a lot of positive feelings surrounding a lot of things for the Patriots, but then again, before the pads come on, there's always a lot of positive feelings. Oh, Tyquan Thornton, he's really fast. You see how fast that guy? The greatest thing about Tyquan Thornton when they interviewed him during minicamp said, you know what? I decided that it was better if I bulked up this year. What about the last 2 years? Why didn't you get in shape the last 2 years after you got hurt time and time again? Maybe that was the time where you needed to figure out you needed to get bigger to maybe survive the rigors of being an NFL wide receiver. Didn't figure that out until this spring.
Did you see how Mark Daniels lost the room when he said Tyquan Thornton? We all went,
I know.
Okay, this dude.
Jalen Reagor, that's an RJ special. He loves Jalen Reagor.
Loves
Jalen Reagor.
In one spot ahead of Justin Jefferson.
You've seen that story before.
When the Vikings front office is laughing at you during the draft, you're in trouble.
I know. So, hey, but he made that one-handed catch. I'm sure he's going to make the team. He's going to make the team.
A training camp specialty.
Yeah, no, I would be almost willing to bet money that Schuster does not make this team.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody pops at all, again, Pop Douglas is hurt again, so, maybe he winds up missing the first 4-8 weeks of the season. Whatever it is, he always seems to get hurt. But who knows what the deal is with this hand injury.
Look at all the guys there, though. I mean, it's just a math problem.
Well, yeah, they're throwing a lot of problems.
He's out. I mean, I just look like Schuster's out.
Yeah.
They drafted 2 guys, 2nd round, 4th round. So you got Polk and Baker right there. Those guys are in. Demario Douglas is on the team. That's 3. Kendrick Bourne, they gave him money in the offseason.
Just depends on how fast he can come back.
But still, even if he doesn't, he's a better receiver than Juju. So that's 4. And then KJ Osborne, I'm not sure about him.
But special teams is very important.
And then Reagor, we're already up to 6.
Yeah.
And we haven't mentioned Booty yet. Haven't mentioned some of the other guys. So Yeah, it's gonna be really difficult for him to make the team.
Who's the number one receiver on this team?
Jalen Polk.
A month into the season? You think it's Jalen Polk? I think you're right about that. 617-779-0985. We'll take a break. Ryan's got the headlines. And when we come back, did you know that a Celtic is on the cover of the 70th anniversary issue of Sports Illustrated? We will talk about that in a second here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
every moment more with FanDuel.
Thank you, Dan. And we are live inside the Town Fair Tire Studios. John Wallach, Michael Hawley, Ryan Johnston. We're here till 10 o'clock. Fred and Hardy both off today. Both will be back on Monday morning. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we will check in with Bert Breer, who's out on the West Coast. There are 5 different teams training on the West Coast. There are 5 different teams training in the Los Angeles area. We have the Rams, we have the Raiders, we have the Chargers, we have New Orleans, and the team that I really want to ask Bert about, the Dallas Cowboys, who have massive problems to deal with here. And this is just the beginning of training camp, massive problems to deal with. So we'll check in with Bert at the top of the hour. But before we get there, I wanted to talk a little Celtics. And Chris Mannix did an extensive article on Jason Tatum and Bob Cousy, the leader of the first championship team and the leader of the just completed championship team. Jason Tatum holding a, it looks like a martini up to the camera, is on the cover of the 70th.
Great article by Mannix, by the way. Really well done.
70th anniversary issue of Sports Illustrated. I don't think anybody actually gets Sports Illustrated delivered to their mailbox anymore.
Tell Bert that.
You can only find that online.
Bert Breer coming up at 8 o'clock.
But I mean, no, but seriously, when was the last time you had Sports Illustrated delivered?
Yeah, cannot remember.
But you did when you were a kid, right?
Yeah, it was everything. I mean, it had some thickness to it, like real old school, John. Like I'm not the only one who did this. I know a lot of people listening to us. If you're of a certain age, you get Sports Illustrated. You couldn't wait to, for me as a young journalist, couldn't wait to read the articles. But then I knew I wanted to be a journalist. And this is when I was like 10 or 11 years old. I cut the pictures out.
Sure, we all did.
Cutting certain pictures out or put the covers up. You'd have a whole collection of covers.
Always do that. Dan Patrick still does that.
It was
the wall of inspiration.
It was everything. It was everything. And it's, it's a little different now.
So do you miss it? Not miss it? Do you wish they still did that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's just, but it's everything.
You wish your son would cut pictures out and Sports Illustrated, put it on the wall?
Times have changed.
Who's your son's favorite athlete? I meant to ask you that.
Well, my kids grew up here, so we've got Brady.
Who would they cut pictures out and put on the wall?
Brady, Gronk.
Okay.
Jason Tatum. My oldest had Jason Tatum's haircut until Tatum just got rid of it. I don't think my son would do that too. But he had the same haircut. I mean, like really.
Really?
Yeah, love him.
You didn't try and convince him of the Cleveland way? Nothing like that?
No, this is it.
I can't understand that. There's such great tradition in Cleveland for sports. Great winning tradition. You can't.
But here's the thing, John.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Kids were born here. My wife is from here. And I did the math. It blew my mind the other day. I've lived in New England longer than I lived in Cleveland.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That kind of puts it all in
perspective.
So
that's it. That's in the past. But anyway, you were talking about this Tatum article.
I will in a second. I just want to add this. My father did not grow up here. My father was born and raised in Manhattan and grew up this is how old I am, this is how old he is, a New York Giants baseball fan. Willie Mays was his guy. But then when the Giants left in the late 50s,
he's like, forget
and
this.
the Mets weren't around yet, guess which team he went to? The New York Yankees.
What?
So
he went from the Giants to the Yankees.
He did. He didn't follow him out to the West Coast. But the point I'm trying to make is I was very young in the late 70s, and he was a Yankee fan, and I was a Red Sox fan. Didn't work out too well for me. It was awful. He tried to pull me over, too. He said, why don't you just root for the Yankees? See, he tried and failed miserably.
Can't do it,
Stayed a Red Sox fan, and look where it got me. Let's hear it.
Only thing my kids have that have forced on them is Ohio State football.
Oh, Jesus.
So Ohio State, yeah, exactly.
Oh,
like there is I've
how
got
to cheat and win. Good,
good
life lesson.
Hey, welcome to college football.
Life
it's
lesson.
Not different than anybody else.
This is before NIL, and I'm telling the truth.
Okay. Well, but see now, if you look back on those cheating scandals, were they really that bad? Looking through the lens,
the Maurice Claret years.
Looking through the lens of
Michael's like the governor who just expunges everybody's pot arrests from the past. It's legal now, so it doesn't really count.
Great lessons you're teaching your kids. That's great.
So kids have they still have some of their favorite stuffed animals. I saw this the other day. I was so proud. I got emotional. They have, each of them has a tiny Woody Hayes like stuffed animal.
Another great citizen. Woody Hayes, the guy who punched the kid in the face.
Hey, look, how dare that guy take away Woody Hayes' football? How dare he try to intercept a ball?
How do you explain that to your children?
Hey, listen, if you don't intercept the ball, you don't get punched in the face. Leave the ball alone. That's Woody Hayes' ball. What's wrong with you? And I explained that this is about passion, kids. This man believed in the game so much that he was willing to fight for his team.
So when your kids are playing sports, and I'm sure your kids do, they play sports. This is what you tell them?
Yeah.
Be like Woody Hayes.
Yes, be like Woody. He believed it. He was a man of principle. Okay. He started it all. He started it all.
You're actually not kidding, are you?
No, I'm not.
What's wrong with you?
What do you mean?
So have you taken them to the horse? Have you taken them to the shoe? Have you taken them to Ohio State home games? What?
That's coming up.
You haven't taken them yet?
No, my uncle still lives there. He's now this is sick. He got a new, because my uncle rides motorcycles and all this stuff. He loves the gadgets. You know, he takes motorcycle trips across the country with his wife. They have he's got a scarlet motorcycle. She's got a gray one. Ohio State helmets, his car. He's got a nice little sports car.
Were you like that when you were a kid? Not with motorcycles. Did you dress up in Ohio State gear?
He's next level. So he goes to the games, and so he's invited us out. We're going to do it. I think we're going to do it this year or next year.
How many Ohio State games did you go to when you were a kid?
Oh, it's just tons. I mean, it's just like a part of my.
We talking dozens?
Oh,
hundreds?
yeah. It was like a part of. I mean, it's just everything. It was everything. The city shuts down. Columbus, big city, shuts down.
I've been to Columbus during Greek Week. I've never been to Columbus for a home football game. And we're Bert, who's coming up, a big Ohio State guy too. So I mean, we could.
You don't want that. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it.
No.
But Jason Tatum, before we get off track.
Well, no. Now we're up against the break.
Now you don't want to talk about Jason Tatum.
Well, no, we can do that as soon as Bert's done. We'll do that at 9:00. Jason Tatum is on the cover of this week's Sports Illustrated, and interesting words from Tatum about his relationship with Jaylen Brown. And what we're finding out from that is the two of them aren't going out to dinner anytime soon.
It's good stuff.
But they've learned how to coexist in a winning environment, and they've been able to overcome that part of their relationship to work together and win a championship. And we will talk about that coming up at 9:00. But I found it fascinating that you haven't taken your kids to Ohio State games yet and all that stuff. So
the indoctrination started. First, it started. It started in the crib, and now we're going to have.
Did you give them like an Ohio State football in the crib, an Ohio State mascot for them to hold?
I mean, they've got jerseys, they've got scarves.
Terrell Pryor jersey. You gave one of those.
Mo Claret.
Art Schleister. What'd you give him?
Maurice Claret.
You gave him Claret.
Yeah, I got one. I still have it at home. Number 13, Claret jersey.
Fine citizen.
Mike Doss. Remember Mike Doss?
Doss. Okay.
Number 2.
All right. Very good.
We got all kinds of stuff.
We'll talk football with Bert Breer coming up. He's in for the entire hour live from Los Angeles from 8 to 9. Ryan Johnson's got.
festivities. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott telling reporters yesterday he wants to remain in Dallas, but said he also doesn't fear playing elsewhere if they can't come to terms on a long-term contract extension. Red Sox open up a 6-game homestand with the Yankees in town for 3 starting tonight. Brian Bayo, first pitch at 7:10. Craig Breslow said yesterday Tristan Casas has been taking batting practice, could soon begin a rehab assignment. Casas hasn't played since April with a rib injury. Ahead of the MLB trade deadline, which comes up on Tuesday, the Mariners yesterday trading 2 minor leaguers to the Rays in exchange for former All-Star outfielder Randy Arozarena. Padres' Dylan Cease threw the second no-hitter in that team's history yesterday as they beat the Nationals 3-0. The opening ceremonies of the Paris Olympics scheduled for this afternoon Eastern Time. LeBron James and Coco Gauff, the flag bearers for the American team. U.S. women's soccer team began their Olympics last night. They won over Zambia 3-0. Sports Hub headlines brought to you by 128 Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric, the company that finishes every job strong. If your home or business has a plumbing, HVAC, electrical, or drain issue that can't wait, you need to call 128 now at 888-CALL-128. I'm Ryan Johnston on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. We got more headlines in a little over 30 minutes.
No matter where you go, you're always connected to Boston sports with the 98.5 The Sports Hub app. Download it wherever you get your apps today. Now, more Tuncher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
This hour, Touch and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
Inside the Town Fair Tire Studios, John Wallach, Michael Holly, Ryan Johnston, in for Fred and Hardy, both off today. Both will be back on Monday, but let's talk to Bert Breer, who is the senior NFL reporter and lead content strategist for the MMQB. Bert joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline this morning, and that expert hotline leads all the way out to Los Angeles, where Bert is up extra early dealing with us this morning. Wow. Bert, how are you?
Just went for a run to get myself going, and now I might feel even worse. So, how you guys doing?
What time did you wake up today, Bert? What time?
I woke up a little after 4. It's 5 right now.
Okay.
See, that's what happens. Anytime I've ever been to the West Coast, that's what happens to me. I'm up at like 4 a.m. and trying to find something to do.
So now this will be your most productive day in a long time. I mean,
I hope you're right.
It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I mean, you think about this. You're going to do a radio interview. You can make some phone calls. Did you actually go for a run, or is that a little?
No, he actually went for a
run.
You
actually went. That's okay. You went for a run. Okay, so now you're good. You got your whole day in front of you. You could take a nap.
I mean, hell,
still have a productive.
If you
day.
were Wahlberg, you'd
that's
be
such
3
a
hours
positive
in.
way of looking at things. So, I don't know if I'm feeling that way right now, but hopefully I'm with you in a couple hours.
If you were Mark Wahlberg, you'd be 3 hours into your day and you'd feel awesome.
You'd already have 3 workouts in by now.
See, I always wonder about that, though. Like, when people say that, like, you remember, like, J.J. Watt would post the workout videos at, like, 3:30 in the morning. Does that just mean you went to bed at 8? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a point where it's like, it's good to be up early, but there's also, like, a point where it's a little overboard, don't you think?
Yes. Yes, I do. I think you're right. If I had an option, I would not get up at 4 every morning, but I don't, so I do. You know what I'm saying? This is the way life is. So you are out in Los Angeles proper. Is that the home base for you this week?
Yeah. I'm actually near the airport because it's kind of central to the 5 teams that are out here.
You have the Chargers, the Rams, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Cowboys, right? Those are the 5? Mm-hmm. And I find it fascinating before we get into, these teams, and obviously I want to talk about Dallas first, but there is a rule, an NFL rule, which says that some of these teams cannot publicize that they are working out in Los Angeles.
Right. Yeah. It's like rules that protect the home market and basically say that, and I think it's a 75-mile radius of whatever your home city is. That you have all the marketing rights there. And so that means for the Raiders and the Saints, they came here for different reasons. For both of them, it was to get out of the heat. The Saints are renovating their facility in New Orleans, so they needed to find a home regardless. And so those teams cannot host fans. They cannot market the fact that they're there. They can't do any sort of promotion of their camp. Like, they can't do anything. And, I think a part of it, if everybody's being honest about it, a big part of it is the popularity of the Raiders, like that they still might be the number one team in Los Angeles. And I don't think the Rams and Chargers want any piece of them having a chance to promote themselves to the fans of Southern California. And then the Cowboys are grandfathered in because they've been coming here forever.
Well, first,
the Cowboys have a million fans at their camp.
Of course, but get back to the Raiders for a second. I mean, I have friends of mine and relatives that still live in that area. The Raiders are absolutely the number one team in Los Angeles. I wouldn't be surprised if that place was packed.
Yeah, and so they're actually on the grounds that the Chargers were on before their new facility opened. But yeah, I mean, like, no fans there. It's an interesting dynamic. It really is because, again, you got these 5 teams that are here, and 3 teams are, obviously doing what every team does, which is using training camp as like a promotional vehicle. And, I went to the Raiders the other day, and their like hotel is like this kind of like secure, like it's like you wouldn't know they were there, first of all, if you didn't know they were there. And the amount of security there was and keeping people out, like you had to have a room key to get into the front door of the hotel. You couldn't just walk in the lobby.
Interesting. All right, so let's start with the Dallas Cowboys, a team that you covered for the Dallas Morning News for a time, but there is so much to talk about with this team. You have Dak Prescott, who is there. You have CeeDee Lamb, who is not there. And you have Micah Parsons. Apparently, Lamb and Parsons both want to be paid as the top non-quarterback in football. And Dak Prescott, who is entering the last year of his contract and will probably be paid like the top quarterback in football, is there, but threw a shot at Jerry Jones yesterday. And in the middle of all of this, you have Jerry Jones dealing with a paternity suit back in Dallas. What's it like at camp?
Well, I'll be able to tell you in a few hours. I haven't been to their camp yet, but I'm going today. They've dealt with, I mean, it's almost like, and I'm not saying it's normal for them to be dealing with all of this stuff because this is a lot. This year is a lot. But the circus didn't just come to town. You know what I mean? Like the circus has been there for a while. And I think what's interesting about it is they keep stepping on the same rake. Like they had to pay more for Zach Martin, for Des Bryant, for Dak Prescott the first time around because they waited and dragged their feet. And I mean, they're doing it again. And again, these are good problems. They've had good players, and that's why they get themselves in these situations. But, to me, like the CeeDee Lamb thing really kind of illustrates it best. Like if you want to go back and look at the beginning of the offseason, how aggressive the Dolphins move with Jalen Waddle, how aggressive the Eagles move with Devontae Smith, how aggressive the Lions move with Nico Collins, and the Texans the Lions move with Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the Lions with Nico Collins. Those teams got those deals done in the spring because they knew the Justin Jefferson deal was coming, and they knew Justin Jefferson was going to change the market. And so now here the Cowboys are, and they're bearing the brunt of the Justin Jefferson deal. Well, like you're not turning the clock back and paying CeeDee Lamb what the Dolphins paid for Jalen Waddle. So that's how they got themselves in that situation. And yeah, I mean, Micah Parsons, same sort of thing. Justin Jefferson was going to affect him too.
So, Bert, the Cowboys, this is Jerry Jones always does some strange things. Yesterday, he's talking about Mike McCarthy, why he didn't give Mike McCarthy a contract extension.
Yep.
And he also talked about Bill Belichick and how he's the best coach in the NFL. So, Jerry, you realize you just said you've got a coach who's a lame duck, and then you talked about Bill Belichick, who's a free agent, who you think is the greatest coach in NFL history. If you put 2 and 2 together, Bert,
Mike McCarthy was sitting right next to him.
McCarthy's sitting right there.
I know.
You're talking about it's not even your ex. You're talking about your crush,
your future.
Right in front of me. What do you think the chances are? Like if you had to handicap the field, it seems like Dallas would be the number one option for Bill Belichick based on their talent level and what Belichick is looking for, which is a few more wins to get him over the Shula hump. What do you think the chance? If you handicap that field, and where does Dallas rank?
And I would say don't shortchange the personal stuff either. Like he's got a good relationship with the Jones family, and I don't think the Parcells thing is irrelevant either. Like that's where Parcells finished his coaching career, and Bill got them turned around, but he couldn't quite get them over the hump. And so for Belichick to be the coach that got this group of Cowboys over the hump, I think there'd be a little intangible value to that too, So look, it's like the old Parcells line, where when he took the Cowboys job, he said, I think he called the other 31 teams lounge acts and said the Cowboys are the main stage for the NFL. I think all those things play into it, and there is a team that's ready to win right now. And, I do think that that's a place that, for all of the owner interference and everything else, the coach has a direct line to ownership in that place and has an ability to affect change if he wants to do it. So, I think Dallas is a really interesting fit for Bill. And I really think we're going to be looking at the NFC East in general, because here's the thing, there's a natural connection to the Giants. He's got relationships in the Eagles building. Somebody's got to finish last in that division, right? Somebody's got to finish in third in that division. And so how that plays out, in a division that he's got a lot of history in, I think could help dictate where he lands next year.
Is there any world? Jerry is what, 75? What is Jerry?
81.
81. Okay, I undershot it.
I have to look it up, but I think he's 81.
Okay, so Jerry Jones is 81 years old, and you're talking about Dallas. They keep stepping on the same rake. Is there a world in which Jerry gives personnel duty to someone else? Whether it would be someone he trusts or someone that's recommended to him? Has he reached the age where he can get the help he needs in the front office?
So I'd say two things on that. Number one, do you guys think the roster's been a problem?
I was going to say, the front office is actually pretty good.
But, I think a GM would have gotten ahead of all of these contracts before Jerry did.
He's a better talent evaluator than Bill Belichick.
I understand that. No, I'm not saying the roster stinks. What I am saying is maybe he could have avoided these three massive problems he has in front of him.
That's the thing. He has consistently had really good rosters. And this is going back to, again, I think they had a real rut there. After Jimmy Johnson left, after the Barry Switzer era, when that group of Cowboys started to break apart, the ones that won the Super Bowl, they had about a decade-long run. And Bill Parcells dug them out of it. But since then, I think they've consistently had one of the best rosters in football. The other thing is I think he does have good personnel people. Will McClay is, if he had GM next to his name, I'd have him among the top 5 GMs in football. And that's why other teams have tried to pluck him away. So, he has a good personnel department, and they've had good rosters. I think you're right, John, to bring up, the idea of what does, what difference would it make if somebody was in there putting the team together that was looking at it and saying, okay, we have to set up our contracts a certain way. And, Stephen Jones is good at that, but, if they had maybe more people involved on that end of it and more people saying no to him on that end of it, it might help. But on balance, I don't think the roster's a problem.
No, the bigger issue has been the coaches.
Someone to get in his ear and say, look, it's maybe not McCartney, maybe not Jason Garrett for a decade, maybe something else.
Right. And I think the problem with the coaching thing is that Jerry, for all this, for his reputation of being this wildcatter or whatever, he actually doesn't operate that way. He doesn't fire coaches left and right. If anything, he hangs on to guys for too long. And I think a big piece of that is he doesn't like being wrong, So he'll hang on to a mistake for a little longer than he should. Wade Phillips was not the most popular choice. He hung on to Wade for an extra year. Jason Garrett, he viewed Jason Garrett almost as his own creation. This is the guy who, as a player, I put him in the coaching meetings, And so they invested so much time and effort into making him the head coach. And so he didn't want to be wrong about that. And then I think with McCarthy, it's the same thing. I mean, all the rumblings going back to December, guys, like I kept hearing over and over and over again, just making the playoffs won't be enough. They need to look good when they get there, right? Like I kept hearing that. And that was going around a lot. And yet they get to the playoffs and they get their doors blown off by Jordan Love and the Packers. Couldn't have gone worse.
Yeah.
And he hangs on to him. And I think a big part of it is not wanting to walk back your mistakes.
All right, Bert, go grab some coffee. We're going to take a break. We have an 18-game schedule to talk about. We have the Patriots to talk about and the Jim Harbaugh experience to talk about. Now, have you been to Chargers camp? Because I've already messed up
spent
once.
2 days. I spent 2 days there,
okay.
So yeah.
I want to make sure before we ask this next one. All right, very good. Bert is with us. He's with us for the whole hour. More with him coming up next. 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Toucher and Hardy on the way on the Sports Hub.
So we were talking with Bert about the Dallas Cowboys, who he's going to go see today, and what a circus that is. And Bert's out on the West Coast. There are 5 different NFL teams that he is covering, and this week he had a good look at Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. And with Harbaugh, Bert, you can hear almost anything out of his mouth, but he's been in rare form this week.
I don't know if we call it rare form anymore. It seems like he says this stuff all the time.
No, this is just form.
Fist form.
Yeah.
He's been in form this week.
I mean, he's so I got to spend a little time over there, and I'm glad I did, because I feel like I wish when I covered him before I had a better understanding of him. Me and Michael have gotten a good look at him over the last 9 years.
Unfortunately.
How'd that go?
Yeah.
Well, most of the time.
Great for a while.
I was going to say, most of the time it's pretty good. More wins than losses, but the losses the last 3 years
I was just going to say, the last 3 years haven't gone that well.
Devastating.
No amount of money can buy you a win over Michigan.
Yeah.
I'd say 6 good years, 3 bad years. But yeah, no, it's what I mean when I say I wish I had a better understanding of him. It's like the guy genuinely loves being out there. And I know that sounds like a little corny and weird, but like you watch him and you watch the way that like he moves around to practice and the way he rallies his team, and there's nowhere he'd rather be than out there. And it's like at first you almost want to think part of it's an act, but it can't be, because he's been this way for so long. And I think what's really interesting about it, guys, is like everywhere he's gone, it's looked exactly the same. Even going back to like Stanford, when they had Andrew Luck there, and even while they had Andrew Luck, they were this team that was playing out of the I formation and with multiple tight ends. And I mean, you guys remember what Toby Gerhart was like there, And then you go to San Francisco, and what was their identity? The exact same. Rugged defense, offense built around Frank Gore, and then obviously at Michigan, the last 9 years, it's been the same thing. And, I had someone who was in there tell me like he must have said the word bully 18 times in his first team meeting as far as what they're going to be. And so like I'm fascinated to see how this plays out, because in a league that's now built to stop Patrick Mahomes, right? Like that's what everyone is building to stop, is a team that throws the ball all over the place and has this dominant quarterback and everything else. You're going the other way with the Chargers. And so the Chargers are going to be playing against teams that are equipped to play teams that look nothing like that.
Can you win like that in today's NFL? Can you win with that style?
I think you can, Michael, because I think you can, as long as you're innovative. And I think people, sometimes mistake innovation for the passing game, right? Like you can be innovative in the running game. You can be innovative in the way you set up play action passes. And I think that's the genius of what Harbaugh and guys like Greg Roman have always been able to do. Is it looks old school, but we're still doing new things. We're still doing different things. We're still playing a modern game. And so, I think, it's a very real tell what they did with the 5th overall pick. They got rid of Mike Williams. They got rid of Keenan Allen. That was just part of the salary cap reality, right? And look who they kept over those guys. They kept Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa rather than keeping the receivers, right? And then they go into the draft, and with the 5th overall pick, a lot of people said, well, you should take a receiver. Who'd they take? Joe Alt, right? They didn't take Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze. They took Joe Alt, the big left tackle out of Notre Dame, who I swear, guys, I was standing next to him, like one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? Like, so
a generational tackle. Yes.
Like 320 pounds and looks like he weighs 280. Like he looks like he could very easily carry 350 pounds. So like, I just think it's going to look a lot different, and I think you're going to have a team that is going to be very hard to play against, because teams today are not going through training camps, going through spring work, going through practices on a day-to-day basis, preparing to play against a team like this. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out and how that looks. And look, like it sort of reflects the Ravens too. The Ravens are really difficult to play against too. I think in a very identifiable way. He's been able to build that everywhere he's going. And I could even see it at practice the other day, like where at the end of practice, and they're only allowed to do so much this early in camp, but they're out there for, whatever, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And they have these things called flip sleds. Do you guys know what those are?
No.
Okay. So like, there's these big things that are weighted that the players have to pick up and like just basically flip over, and you keep going down the field and you keep flipping it down the field. Right. So they're doing like these flip sleds. God knows how much weight they're pushing, but all these guys are doing this for like a half hour after practice.
Interesting. All right.
It's like it's an interesting place.
Well, so this is this like J.J. Watt flipping a tractor tire, that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's just like that. Like it's a sled it's like a weighted. It looks like it's same concept, same motion. Yes.
Okay, so do this for me, and we've kind of talked a little bit about this. Put Harbaugh on the strange scale with all the other head coaches that you've had to deal with. Is he at the top of the list? Is he top 5? It seems like he's up there.
I've come to like him. I used to think like when he was in San Francisco, I used to think like that it was just he was the guy who was at his most comfortable when everybody else was awkward around him, right? Okay. And like he has so many quirks, and he was really edgy then too. Like that's real. Like he is. I think his disposition has changed a little bit. He is strange, but I think strange in a way that where he can really connect with people, and he's authentically himself. None of it's fake.
All right, But at the same time,
it's almost like you're talking to like. It's weird. It's almost like you're talking to your dad. You know what I mean? Like it's like a guy from the 70s. I mean, like that's what it's like.
That just gave it a whole new meaning for me.
It sure did.
That's good.
I can tell you this: my dad didn't steal signals last year for the.
Oh, that's a good point too. My dad had some integrity.
Just want to point that out.
All right, you two Ohio State guys talking about integrity.
Such a clean program.
Makes me laugh that the two of you are actually trying to make this argument.
Cheated his way.
That's fine.
How's Urban doing these days?
Yeah. We can leave Urban Meyer to the side of this, right, Bert?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just leave Urban Meyer off as far as integrity goes. I'm curious though about the shelf life of a guy like this. And that's the other part of a Harbaugh team. He's great coming in. He changes the culture, but his weirdness or strangeness or personality burns everyone out in 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, and that's where I think the comparison to Parcells is the right one. I think he's got a lot of Bill Parcells to him. He comes in, he's very uniquely himself. He knows what he wants. He's going to build something, again, that looks very much like the last thing he built. And he's going to burn hot, and he's going to get immediate results. And then there's the potential that he burns people out. In fact, like that sort of happened at Michigan, like where he had to turn over his entire staff. Like after the COVID year, going into 2021, they completely hit reset on their entire staff, and they batted like 1,000 on the changes, and that's why they were so good the last 3 years. But like he underwent like that because I think like that dynamic that you talked about that happened in San Francisco that happened again, and I think he's cognizant of it too. You know what I mean? Like I do think he's cognizant of it, but it's a hard program to play in for sure. And yeah, there's that fine line you're walking when you're coaching that hard and you're playing that way that you burn people out.
All right, Bert, let me ask you about another Michigan man, Tom Brady, who is a part owner with the Raiders. And I don't know if he has much of an effect on Raiders culture right now, but the point is that they are turning it over a bit. They were ecstatic. I mean, they were celebrating. I thought it was like Mardi Gras last year, that first game after Josh McDaniels was fired. I mean, they're smoking cigars. You see Max Crosby and Devontae Adams celebrating. I know that, Brady has a part of that culture, and they're excited, but how does that excitement translate to the field? Will it translate to the field?
That's a really good question. Is it sustainable, I think is what you're asking, right? So I'm interested to see how Antonio Pierce, like what his team looks like. That stuff I just talked about with Harbaugh, I think it applies to Pierce too, where he wants to build something like that. Like he wants, a tough physical team, like an old school team. And the one like thing that would encourage me if I were a Raider fan is when you look at like the makeup of the staff, it's pretty clear to me like that he knows what he doesn't know. And that like he has two experienced play callers in Luke Getsy and Pat Graham. And then he has brought in ex-head coaches, and he's really leaning on Joe Philbin and on Marvin Lewis to help him transition into becoming a head coach. And then, you know, he's going to have Tom Coughlin around next week, and he's leaned on Coughlin a lot. So I do think that there's like an awareness to where his blind spots might be. I'm not sure. He might still be too green. You know what I mean? Like that's a big leap going from Arizona State to less than 2 years as an NFL assistant to now being a head coach. He was coaching in high school 5 years ago.
Did Brady want him? Was Brady happy with? I know Brady didn't necessarily make the choice, but I know he had a voice in it. Was Brady on board with Antonio Pierce?
Well, Brady was around at the end of last year, so like I know he was at their last practice. There's only so much he can do now. And I know for right now, from what I understand, I did ask about that, Michael. From what I understand, he's really sort of immersed himself into the Fox job. And I do think there's some sensitivity. Like if he's around too much, like is he going to be able to do his job at Fox really well? And what I mean by that is like going into other team facilities for production meetings. If they know he spent 3 weeks at training camp on the sideline at the Raiders, do you think those teams are going to trust him?
We've talked about this with you at length over the last year or so.
Yeah.
The NFL hasn't stepped in and made any kind of ruling on this. I mean, how is this still being allowed?
What part of it? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, Brady's spending all this time with the Raiders, part owner, not part owner, whatever
I
think
that's why he's backed off. I think that's really why he's backed off since the end of last year. Like I think he's like made it. At least I'm putting pieces together here, but it does feel to me like he's made a concerted effort to not have a huge presence in that building because I think he does know how that could affect his ability to do his job at Fox effectively. And, you know, the other piece of this for Tom is if eventually he does want that piece of the team, which, you know, he does want that piece of the team, you know, I think trying to force the issue isn't going to be the way to do it either. You know, like acting as if you're the owner already when you aren't isn't going to rub the owners the right way, you know? So I think that's another piece of it. And I think eventually it does work itself out. It was just clear at the time that the owners weren't going to give him $1 for a nickel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which I think is what Mark Davis was trying to do.
Right. One other quick question before we hit the break. Now it's almost go time with Brady as far as TV is concerned. We've seen some dry runs from him. Mm-hmm. What's the general feeling about his ability to actually physically go out and do that job? Because I am seriously questioning how a guy who has spent all of his entire pro life carefully crafting a vanilla persona can be edgy on television.
Everyone I know who knows him really well says he's working his ass off at it. Like, and he has really worked hard. He really wants to be good at it. And he's been the same thing about him, like the same sort of competitor he was with football. He's trying to take that into broadcasting, and he studied too. I think I've mentioned this to you before, but like he's told people around him that he's used Johnny Miller, the golf commentator, as a model. And one of the reasons why is Johnny Miller is very, very critical, you know, and so he wanted to learn how to be critical. I think where the rubber meets, I think he can do it, first of all. Like, I think he's got the tools to do it. And anybody who watched him on the Manning cast, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but when he went on there, he's really good. So I think he can do it. I think the bigger question is what happens when you get to week 3 or week 4 and he says something about somebody that he may have a connection to, and that person doesn't like that, and then he gets a phone call. Yeah. And then 2 weeks later, he gets another phone call. So I think he's going to come out of the chute, and everybody's going to be like, wow, he's really good. To me, it's like, and I think this isn't a bad quality in a person. Like, I think he cares about the people around him. He cares about the people he has relationships with. But, like, how will he sustain that first body blow? where he says something that someone doesn't like and that person comes back at him. That's where I think the rubber will really meet the road with what sort of broadcaster he is.
All right, we'll take a break. Ryan will get us an update on the headlines. And when we come back, Bert, we're going to talk about an 18-game schedule. All right? We're going to see if that actually is going to happen anytime soon and whether or not we're going to get 2 bye weeks. And we'll hear from Bert about that. First, we have Ryan with the headlines. Friday edition of Toucher and Hardy here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I think that relates back to the broadcast deals. There's opt-outs after 2029 in the broadcast deals. I think the owners would like to go to market with an 18-game season to sell to the networks, to the streaming partners. And so I think by that opt-out, they're going to be at 18 games. How do they get there? I was surprised to see the new NFLPA executive director take such a conciliatory tone on doing this. After D. Smith, his predecessor had basically, drove a stake into the ground and say, we're not doing this. I think if I'm the players, you have to get a lot for it. And
what's a lot, by the way?
I can't be more clear about
what's
this.
A lot?
Do not stop giving away practice time. The owners don't care about that.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Stop giving away off-season program time. Stop giving away practice time. When the owners hear you say that, they're like, you mean I get to turn the lights off for another 3 weeks? Where do I sign up for that? They don't care about that. So I think what the players should be fighting for is finding ways to make it easier to get paid. And so I'm talking about getting players to free agency after 3 years rather than 4. I'm talking about you're not going to get rid of the franchise tag, but maybe strengthening the rules on how hard it is to tag somebody. Maybe making the numbers higher to tag somebody. You got to make it hurt for them, and you got to create a situation where the players are getting a tangible benefit, and more guys are walking away from the game with very real wealth. And the way you do that is you get them to free agency easier, and you get them to free agency faster. And I think
would one of the things be the ever elusive guarantees in the contracts? I mean, even if you didn't make every contract fully guaranteed, could you make it so that a certain percentage of the contract has to be guaranteed so that these guys aren't just as expendable as they always have been?
I hesitate on that one because guaranteed contracts aren't in anybody's CBA. They're not in the baseball CBA, the hockey CBA, the basketball CBA. They aren't in any CBA. No league requires guaranteed contracts. That happens as a matter of negotiation and precedence, and that's how those leagues got there. And so I don't know if I see a world where you mandate it, Ryan, but I think by getting more players, better players to free agency, you'll get closer to that because that's where those negotiations will go and it'll become more of the standard. The other thing is, and you mentioned guaranteed contracts, those are important in football because of, the fleeting nature of the sport, how quickly a guy can be gone because of the physical nature of it. I think one thing that I wish players would look more at too is post-career benefits and having lifetime health care and taking care of guys who are out of the game. And I think this has been a problem in the football union for a while is that there's a narrow group of players that sort of control a lot of things. And so, if you have guys who are 5-year vets, who are 10-year vets, looking at it and they've already gotten to free agency, are they going to be pushing for free agency now earlier for younger players? Or are they going to look at it and say that I'm past that point? If a younger guy gets paid earlier, then that could mean my team gets rid of me to make room for that younger guy's number, Mm-hmm. So there's that piece of it. And then current players aren't as worried about what's going to happen to them when they're 40 or 50 or 60 years old. But any of us who've aged know, there are,
yeah. You wake up with back pain. I didn't even play football. You wake up with back pain. That's no fun. Yeah.
Right. So and I think with all the problems guys have had after they left the game, that would be a great thing to try to get from the owners. Now, will they have the perspective to do that? I don't know. You know what I mean? That's they haven't in the past, but I do think they made some strides on that in the 2011 CBA and the 2020 CBA. And I think getting more post-career benefits for guys after they leave the game would be pretty impactful too.
All right, before we let you go, Bert, let's spend 5 minutes talking about the Patriots, who are on the opposite coast from you, but I want to see if your opinion has changed. The offensive line seems to be a jumbled mess here the first few days of training camp. They got a long way to go before they figure out which 5 guys are actually going to block for their starting quarterback. Has your opinion changed about when Drake May is actually going to become this team's starter?
No. I think I said to you guys, like, I would set the over-under at November 1st. I don't think he's going to start week 1. I think the offensive line is a very real part of the equation because so much of this, guys, is like going back to what he was coming out of North Carolina and what they found when they got him on the practice field, that he really had no formal footwork training, that, you know, I mean, almost his entire football life has been played out of the shotgun. All that stuff, like, there's a learning curve there, and you need to create new habits, and those new habits need to settle. And you don't want to put a guy in a position where he's gonna regress. And so how does a guy regress? Well, he regresses by getting put in situations where everything is jumbled and a mess around him. You know, I think he's not as raw as Jordan Love was coming out, but I think a lot of Green Bay people would tell you if Jordan Love got thrown out there in his first year or his second year, it might have ruined him. And so I think they have to be cognizant of that. And being cognizant of that is one, like knowing where his development is, right? Like, and knowing how much progress he's made. And then number two, being realistic with yourself about what's around him and whether or not you're going to be able to support him the way that he needs to be supported. That's not to say he's not going to be able to play for 3 years, but I do think he has some things that Mac didn't, like where he's got the escape hatch to make plays athletically, to make things right even when things look wrong for him, which is what Mahomes and Josh Allen and some of these other guys had, that helped aid in their development and kind of cheat the learning curve. But I do think they're going to be patient with him.
Well, you mentioned Josh Allen. We know from watching Hard Knocks the offseason in New York Giants, Joe Shane, who came from Buffalo, as you know, and Brian Daboll, who's largely responsible for developing Josh Allen. Those guys were willing, Bert. They were willing to trade the 6th overall pick for number 3. They were willing to trade a 2025 first and more to have Drake May come in and start. So these are guys who understand talent. I just feel like I just disagree. I'm just mad at everybody. Already, the season having started, I'm mad at everybody for being too conservative with Drake May. They were going to bring him to New York, a pretty small media market, and throw him into the hopper. So why are they wrong and the Patriots with Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo right?
Well, did they say in there they were going to start him? They didn't say they were going to start him.
Daniel Jones is going to be gone. Absolutely.
No, they were going to play. Their plan was to play Daniel Jones for a year and then flip it to Drake May.
Okay, so they're stupid then. They're stupid too because
everyone's stupid but you.
Pretty much. Because you can't bring it. Daniel Jones, you trade up and you trade up to 3. Mm-hmm. You don't help the offense. Your help to the offense is trading up to 3 to get a quarterback who you then sit down. I just feel like Bert.
You raised a good point, though.
He's got so much. He's got more than people are giving him credit for it, even with the rawness.
You did raise a good point, though, which is like, I think one that can make you feel good about Drake May watching that show. You can remember back to the stuff we said in April. The 2 teams that were most aggressive trying to get Drake May were the Giants and the Vikings. And that's 2 pretty good quarterbacks, guys, and Brian Daboll and Kevin O'Connell. Like, you had 2 guys there that really know the position, that have been able to develop the position at a pretty high level. And so, you know, I think you take that into account. But I would look at like how O'Connell is handling J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. It's sort of similar, you know? Like, he's established markers for J.J. It's very detailed what they're doing, Bert, but it's like, Drake you're going to hit these markers before we put you out there.
Bert, as you know, to bring it full circle, you watch J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. Yeah. Drake May's better than J.J. McCarthy, significantly.
You just want to watch him.
Yes. That's what this is.
He should play. He should play.
I don't want you get Bert. My point to Michael. And
I would say this. The one thing he does, like, again, like, I do think that ability to escape and make plays on his own, which Mac really didn't have, that ability I think gives you some level of flexibility where it's, you know, number 1, number 2, if it's not there, Drake, just go and just go make a play. It does give you some flexibility there. But again, like the fundamental changes that they've made with him, you don't want to screw up months of work that you've put into trying to and trying to set him up for a 10-year career.
And you also don't want to mess up the one swing you have to get this kid on the right path to being a starter. I mean, you have hopefully the Patriots don't have another high draft pick to take a quarterback like this again. So you have one chance with your one franchise quarterback that you have drafted and are going to try and build a team around. Why take the risk of ruining him, regardless of what his physical abilities are?
Guys, I just want you to live, okay? I love you guys both. Hey, Bert,
You disagree with that? Michael, do you disagree with how the Packers handled Jordan Love?
Bert, the Packers had Aaron Rodgers. And then before, when Aaron Rodgers sat, the Packers had Brett Favre. The Patriots don't have that luxury. Yeah, and I agree with you, Bert. I agree with you and the coaches who say, if I had my druthers, I'd rather have a young guy sit, but you don't. You don't have that luxury. You're in a desperation mode. And by the way, I love you guys. Bert, I love you. RJ, Wallach, love you guys. Life is for living. I want you to go out there, take some chances, take some risks.
And you know what, Bert? We want you to take that message into the rest of your day.
Go ahead, tell Jim
We want to make sure that you live your life to the fullest on your final day or one of your final days out on the West Coast. Can you do that for us?
I'm on the West Coast a while longer. So I'm gonna try, and I want to thank you guys for giving me a little energy to go off on my day here. One thing that does suck about being out here, I don't know if you guys feel this way. I wake up and I feel like I'm behind when I'm out here.
Yeah. Well,
do you guys feel that way?
Because the rest of the world already started?
The rest of the world is 3 hours ahead of you. Yeah,
well, that's why you get up at 4.
That's right. That's why you go for a run. But
isn't that it's like I wake up here, it's like it's 6 a.m. and it's like 9 a.m. back there. It's just I don't know. It feels like I'm chasing the day.
That's why Wahlberg is up and at him at 2:30.
Exactly right.
Got to catch up with the rest of the world.
We can't all be Marky Mark.
And I want to remind you, Bert. You know what we're talking about. Don't go too far away. We have an appointment at 7:30 your time. Don't forget. Okay.
Yep, I got it.
All right.
I'll be doing it from the car.
Okay,
but yes,
there we go.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what that is, but I wish you guys the best of luck with it.
Ohio State scouting.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, fine. Bert, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, guys.
That's Bert Breer. We got an hour left. Coming up at 9:20, we'll talk Red Sox baseball with Jared Carabas. We'll talk about that Celtics article we referenced earlier. That's coming up next. Ryan Johnson has the headlines at the top of the hour. Friday edition. Tire Studios, Friday edition of Toucher and Hardy. Both guys off today. Both guys will be back on Monday. I'm John Wallach. He's Michael Holley. Kind of an odd situation because we worked together in different roles at the other place for about 8 or 9 years. The competition, the guys across the street, however you want to say it.
No, you can't say competition. Come up with something. You better come up with a different word.
The other station.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
That.
That's better.
I agree.
That's better.
Congratulations on joining the winning team, by the way.
Yeah,
good for you. I'm happy to have you here.
Good
Glad you can help the ball club.
It's been a long time.
Glad
Good
you're
to get
here.
a win.
How's it feel?
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
That was the best. That was the best. Yeah, we'll catch him. We got him.
Yeah.
We got him. And that was the word. After I came over here and you stayed there, we got him. Don't you worry. We're going to reel him in.
Hey, listen, don't worry. Like first listen, they'll go away just like these other upstarts. No, we've dealt with upstarts before, but hey, they have the Bruins and they have the Patriots. Oh, they took the Celtics too? Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Was that the feeling in the building at the time? Don't worry about it?
Yeah.
Really?
That's on record. I'm not saying anything new.
But it's been so long since I've heard that.
That was on record. That was somebody said that into a microphone.
Did you say that?
Never. No. No, I'm not. I worry about everything. Worry about everything and everybody all the time. So, no. Anytime there's competition, I'm like, oh, that's real.
I just remember Jerry Callahan when we all first started, Fred Rich and myself. Oh, we're hiding under the desk. We're so scared of those guys. It took us maybe 18 months.
And then probably not even?
Probably not even.
Well,
I'm being conservative, but it didn't take us.
This is your anniversary coming up,
less
right?
than 2 years. That's
25?
Right. 15 years.
No, 15. Oh, no, I got 09, 15. Yes, thank you.
15.
Math, not a stretch.
Couple of weeks.
But 15 years.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Good
It'll
stuff.
be 15 years we've been on the air.
It went fast.
It did go. It went very, very fast. But I'm happy to say
and you know what? And seriously, and not that anybody cares, but I'm going to say it anyway because I want to say this. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I've told you this privately. I'll say it on the air. It's one of you and Big Game James, Jimmy Stewart, the smartest moves that you guys could have made. I mean, like so smart.
It was a lot. I
don't know if you were thinking, hey, this is visionary, this is forward thinking, this is good for my career, whatever you were thinking, it was the right thought. Good for you.
I just knew that at the time I wasn't going to get a chance where I was. This place gave me the opportunity I was looking for, and it all worked out. So thank you very much. It's been the best job I've ever had, best people I've ever worked with. It's been great. It's been great. So instead of patting myself on the back, as much as I'd like to do that for the rest of the show,
yeah, why not?
We were talking about the Celtics earlier in the show, and an article written by Chris Mannix, a friend of this particular show as well, wrote a great article about the Celtics, a championship for this time, a championship for all time, where he interviewed the first leader of the first Celtics championship, Bob Cousy, who is now 90 years old and living in Worcester. He's lived in the same house in Worcester for 61 years.
He's 96.
96.
He's 96.
He's 96 years old. And he also interviewed Jason Tatum, the leader of the last championship team. Tatum's the guy I want to talk about, but just a couple of quick things about Cousy. One is he still goes to the same club every Thursday. His daughter comes and gets him, wheels him out there, and he still has a drink in the same lounge that he's had a drink in for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And the second thing was Wick Grousbeck took the Larry O'Brien trophy out to see him and gave him a ring as well. And Cousy told Mannix and Grousbeck he was so happy that it was Dallas that played the Celtics in the final because he knew he wouldn't have to stay up late to watch the games. he knew the Celtics would take care of them easily. He wasn't going to have to stay up and watch any of the games. It was great.
Man, like when you get to be 96,
you cross the line when you're like 80. Trust my dad's in his mid to late 80s. There's a line that you cross at about 81 or 82.
You're like, what the
I don't
hell?
know if he's experienced this, where they say whatever you want. You expect that when you walk in the room. Cousy passed that a long time ago.
He says, I'm in the double overtime of my life.
Yeah.
So many good lines, and he's great, and I'm glad they gave him a day with the trophy, that he's going to get a ring. Now he says for his his next one, he may be in the great basketball court in the sky. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Hey, Bob, you still may be around because I like their chances of running this thing back.
They have a very good. Of course, the argument is, well, everybody got hurt. The teams they were supposed to play, they didn't play. They didn't play Milwaukee. Yeah. They didn't face Embiid in that first round. They didn't face, and the teams they did face were missing key players all the way through. Cleveland missing Donovan Mitchell. Indiana was missing Halliburton.
Okay, look, it was an easy ride. There's no way around that. You can't even.
And you didn't have to face Denver and Minnesota in the West.
You can't argue.
That's the argument. The other way.
The western part of it, and that's the West is loaded. Was loaded last year, is loaded this year as well. But Indiana, if Indiana is healthy, it's tougher. It's tougher.
No, they still would have beaten Indiana.
They beat Indiana. They beat Cleveland.
And they would have beaten Cleveland too, but it would have been tough.
And Miami. Sorry, Jimmy Butler. Butler, the quote of, hey, if I'm there, Boston's home, New York is home. And I'm glad. It's the first time in my life where I could say, I agree with Pat Riley 100%, where Riley said, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
If you're not going to be out there, shut up and sit down. Now, I'm glad Tatum did this interview with Mannix because, RJ, I don't know if you agree with this. I think I saw you on the email where you said there aren't a lot of athletes who approach things the way Jason Tatum does. So he's a modern athlete who has said, a modern basketball player who has said, hey, I'm just want to play ball.
So he is quoted in there as saying he doesn't get involved with roster decisions, coaching decisions, right?
Whoa.
He actually says he almost feels like he should have been more outspoken about making sure that Jalen was going to stay and making sure that he got his contract and all that, but he doesn't want to get involved in any of that stuff. And it's like, the NBA, how many stars in the NBA really, really don't get involved in that stuff? Don't meddle with those types of decisions. Almost all of them run their franchises.
Or try to.
Yeah.
I think even though Tatum didn't go to management, I'm pretty sure management went to Tatum when they hired Ime Udoka and promoted Joe Mazzulla and said, before we do this, what do you think?
Well, but they did that with Brown too.
And I understand Tatum wasn't aggressive in saying I want to say in this, but you can bet management still went to him.
But that's different. It's still okay. The line of demarcation really is LeBron. So LeBron and D-Wade, they started the player empowerment thing. Now, players wanted to, like RJ says, players have wanted to do this before and couldn't do it. See, Michael Jordan wanted to do it, but he had a general manager in Jerry Krause. And so Jordan wanted to bring in all these North Carolina guys, and Krause wouldn't do it. So Krause is the one who brought in Pippen and Grant and then Dennis Rodman, all this stuff. Jordan didn't ask for that. Krause did it.
So
Kobe wanted to run the Lakers and Shaq wanted to run the Lakers, but they couldn't.
So
LeBron was the first guy who pulled it off and said, this is how it's going to be.
So in like 12 years, Tatum's not going to be demanding the Celtics draft Deuce?
That's different. That's different. But I respect that Tatum says, I could have done more. I mean, I think that shows great maturity. At 26, a lot of 26-year-olds are just not that. So that self-aware and that reflective and willing to be vulnerable and say, yeah, you can criticize me for that. I realize now that I was just looking at it from my perspective. I didn't consider his perspective. And props to Jason Tatum for
another
that
thing that's brought up a lot in this article is Tatum's relationship with Jaylen Brown. And we always assumed, okay, they're on the same page, they're friendly, they're very tight. What this article says to me is that Tatum, and it says here, Tatum will cop to some missteps over the year. He insists he never wanted Brown to be traded. But at the same time, it doesn't seem like the two of them are best of friends. They've just learned how to coexist and succeed together. And that's different than being tight and friendly, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, is tight and friendly required? No.
Well, no, it's not required.
Yeah.
And, I don't think Kuzi and Russell, and that's the comparison they're making, while Tatum and Brown aren't Kuzi and Russell, from what I read, Cousy and Russell were friendly, but they didn't hang out off the court either.
Cousy and Russell, they didn't have that. And as a matter of fact, if you go back and look at, there's so many Celtics documentaries or Celtics interviews with players, but there's one, and you guys, if you're a green teamer, you know what I'm talking about. There's an interview Cousy does, and he breaks down crying in the middle of the interview because he says he didn't do enough for Russell. He could have been he phrased it in a way, but he could have been a better friend or he could have been a better advocate, especially with Russell going through some racial challenges nationally and locally as he played for the Celtics. So, look, it didn't even have to be that deep. You think about some great championship teams recently. Like Steph Curry and KD are on the same team now, but KD never felt like he was part of that core group, that first group that won without him, with Draymond and Clay and Steph. And Kevin left. But they were, in my mind, they're the best team I've ever seen. Pick one, 2017 or 2018 Warriors, one of them. Best team I've seen. And the guys weren't best friends, but they got the job done. I think Tatum and Brown can do that. You don't have to be that close. McHale and Bird weren't that close.
Yeah.
They were excellent together, but they weren't best friends.
And there's a quote in here, quote, I feel Brown, has gotten the short end of the stick, whether it's all-star selections or all-NBA. I feel like he, in a sense, made up for some of the shortcomings that people didn't vote him for. I was happy he got it.
But also says he wanted to get it.
Yes, but also, and that's where I was getting to.
Too,
yeah, no.
Because we can see. Can you see that?
Tatum wanted Finals MVP this year, but to see Brown get recognized, Tatum said, quote, made me genuinely happy, unquote. And when you get to that point, everything is scrutinized. Like, for instance, when Brown got Conference Finals MVP over Tatum, you saw that quick snapshot of Tatum, not exactly happy, but he goes, oh, hey, yeah, that's really great. And so Tatum gets criticized for that, and he pushes back. But it was clear that Tatum was shocked by this. He thought he should have gotten it. So there's still a little bit of that little something there, but it's not necessary to go win championships. That's the key.
I like that he admitted it. I wanted it.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it. I'm surprised he wasn't Eastern Conference. I mean, it's a made-up thing now. It's a recent thing. Eastern Conference MVP. It's a sponsorship from the NBA. Just a
wait. You're telling me that doesn't matter?
Yeah, Eastern Conference MVP. No, but I still thought Tatum would get it.
So did I, and the vote was close too. I think it was one. It was like 7-6 or
yeah. I think he was
6-5.
I think he was genuinely surprised by it, and he played it off pretty well. Like, oh, okay,
yeah,
all right,
exactly right. But they're going to run it back. They got the top 7-8 guys back. Other teams have improved. We will see once we get into the fall exactly whether or not the Celtics made the right move. We're going to go back to baseball next. Red Sox open up a 3-game series against the Yankees with the trade deadline right around the corner. You talk about green teamer. I don't know if there's such a thing as a red teamer, but Jared Carrabis will join us. Coming up next, he's got his own show on Nesson. He's got the alt cast. He was playing foosball last time I saw him play during a Red Sox Colorado Rockies game. We'll talk to him about that. That's around the corner here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Likely 0 phone calls.
As I told you, I worry about everything. So, yeah, I do take it personally. Thanks, John. Thanks for pointing it out.
As opposed to the normal days when the whole cast is here and the phone lines are loaded from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Like,
it's true. We don't take any phone calls on this show.
But you know what? Maybe you need to do some version of a lightning round.
Brian, you know what the lightning round is?
Of course.
I know what the lightning round is?
All right, just making sure, because the story, we were talking about Dale earlier, the story behind that is fantastic.
The get into it.
Let's get into that. Let's get into that in about 20 minutes, the story of the lightning round. It's Friday, it's the summer.
The origin story of the lightning round?
Let's talk about that. That'd be great. But for right now, we're going to talk about baseball. The Red Sox play the Yankees, opener of a 3-game series at Fenway Park. Trade deadline around the corner. And who better to talk Red Sox with than Jared Carrabis, who's the host of the Section 10 podcast. Jared joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. I don't know, just painting you into the Section 10 podcast corner doesn't quite describe what it is you do, Jared.
I've been doing a lot of stuff. I'll be speaking at some Michael Hawley college classes.
Yeah, baby.
My part-time, I'll be influencing the youth, the future.
This is true story.
What I do.
This is a true story. You know this, right?
No, I did not know this.
Jared Carrabis, prime, he was requested. He requested. So I teach a class at BU, sports journalism. And so at the beginning of the semester, I said, look, we're going to talk about interviewing and all this stuff. But before we do that, I just want to know, who do you guys like? Because I said, I don't want to brag, but I know a lot of people. So, okay, who do you like? And if we can get a consensus, I will ask that person to come to class. And the consensus, straight up, Jared Carrabis.
How about that?
Holly and Tangway, just, bringing in all their friends to teach the class.
Here's the question. Tangway has everybody in, but the person that comes in, and I spoke at Tangway's class, I spoke for about 40 or 45 minutes. Tangway spoke for 10, and then the class was over. What was the dynamic like, Jared, when you went and talked at Michael's class?
They were very engaged. I thought I connected with a few of them after the fact. They followed up with emails. They had questions after I kind of gave my whole spiel. They were actually privy to some information that I haven't shared publicly about, like, my career, about different pathways that I've taken, different things that happen along the way to get to, different opportunities that I've had. So it was a lot of fun.
Yes, they were. And I have remembered, I'm not going to bring it up on the air, I've retained some of that information. I'm like, damn. Oh, wow. Wow. It was a great visit. I got a lot of feedback on it. So yeah, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming in.
Happy to come back anytime.
That I like it when people get together and are successful. That's just really sweet. Thanks, guys. This is awesome. All right, Red Sox and Yankees tonight at Fenway Park. Yankees are struggling, which make all of us very, very happy. Red Sox have been struggling too, but they're in a position none of us thought they'd be in. A playoff position or something very close to that. Deadline is Tuesday. We've heard from Craig Breslow. We've heard from Sam Kennedy in the last 24 to 48 hours. What do you think is going to happen?
I don't want to say, I feel like in years past, I've said I'm prepared to be underwhelmed. And I guess it all depends on who you're asking that question to in terms of if you'll be underwhelmed or not. I'm prepared to be satisfied. I'm not prepared to be blown away or underwhelmed. I think the Red Sox and Breslow, I believe it was Wednesday when I was in there with Maz. He had spoken to Alex Spear, and it was the first time, because obviously the Red Sox have acknowledged they need to do something. But Wednesday was the first time with Spear that I heard Breslow acknowledge something specific, like we need to target pitching. And that was glaring after the Dodgers series and the Rockies series that they need some help in the back end there. Obviously, they didn't have Kenley because of the elements, the elevation in Denver. But even just like not having Slayton, doesn't sound like Martin's coming back anytime soon. Slayton, I think, was eligible to come back in a few days ago, but he's not back yet. So some alarms, I guess, should be going off. And then you've got the guys like Bernardino, who I love as a lefty reliever that hasn't been holding up his end of the bargain over the last few weeks or so. So they need to address the bullpen first and foremost. Second, in the rotation, Yeah, like you've been getting some great performances out of Tanner Houck, and Cooper Criswell goes 7 shut the other night, and Cutter Crawford's been good. Obviously, the home runs have been a problem for Cutter Crawford, but the real issue outside of their performance is you need guys that are going to be able to take the ball in the second half. Like these are all dudes that are at or have exceeded their career highs in innings pitched. So you need someone that has been there and done that before, because you're going to get to a point August, September, where some of the dudes that have gotten you to this point are running out of gas a little bit. You need someone else to take the ball and lead the charge. And, I feel like there's a bunch of names out there that are rather intriguing, but they're not going to be like, oh, wow, the Red Sox got that guy. Like, it's not going to be something like that, but you don't need that.
How much of a splash are you willing to accept as a Red Sox fan? If I told you had to trade one of your top prospects for a key young pitcher, say it's Crochet, you have control of over the next 3, 4, 5 years, would you do that?
So I don't know if you saw the story about Crochet.
Yes, I did. He wants
yes.
He wants an extension. He wants to pitch. He wants to be part of the starting rotation. I'm just using Crochet as an example. A controllable young pitcher, but you have to give up a Teal or a Meyer. Would you do that?
Not right now. No, not right now. I think you can go out there and get a. I know the AL West is so weird this year. Like the Rangers were 3 games under 500, but still 3 games back of first place. It's a very weird division. But if you can get a Nathan Eovaldi, if you can call Detroit and get a Jack Flaherty, I'm fine with a rental for the starting pitching. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to say no to a Garrett Crochet, but I'm not like I saw that there was a trade, like a mock trade proposal for Tarek Skubal, and it had all of the big 3 in it. And the general consensus amongst Tiger fans was that's not enough for us. I'm like, you're out of your mind if you think the Red Sox are going to trade Meyer, Teal, and Roman Anthony in the same trade, by the way, for 2.5 years of control of a guy. Like, I know 2.5 years is a lot to some teams, but the Red Sox are not a win right now in the next 2 years kind of window. I want a guy that, if at least for this team, come in, give us quality innings, be able to take the ball every 5th day in the second half of the season. That's kind of what I'm looking at. In the offseason, if you want to explore a trade for a young, cost-controlled starting pitcher that's not necessarily an ace, but is going to take the ball for you, number 1, game number 2, whatever. One of those, sure. But right now, in terms of plugging holes on this roster, it's not like you need to go for the big one right now.
Jared, I know you talked a lot about Alex Cora. We're going to be talking about this for the rest of the season, if not the next couple of seasons, because it was so surprising. A lot of people had him going out the door. Then he signs a 3-year extension. Talking with Felger last night, Felger said that Cora caved because he could have gone to the market and gotten a bigger deal. I'm just not so sure about that because I don't know. Tell me what the market is right now. I don't know what it is. What's your take on what Cora got and what he could have gotten?
So I think when you look at Craig Counsell set the market 5 years and whatever it was, $7-8 million a year. Just because he got it doesn't mean it's out there for everyone else. I mean, look at the Cubs right now. Like they're having one of the most disappointing seasons out of anyone in Major League Baseball. Like we play Family Feud on Thursdays on my podcast, Baseball is Dead. And we put out like the questions to the fans. And one of the questions was like, who's the most disappointing team this season? And the Cubs were the number 1 answer. They're in last place in the Central. They're 6 games under 500. And that's the dude that they went out and they threw David Ross to the side. I mean, like that dude was beloved in Chicago. And they were like, thanks for nothing. See you later. And hired Craig Counsell from a rival team. He got all the money. So I don't know. Just because Counsell got the money, I don't think that that's going to start this trend of managers getting a ton of money on an average annual basis. I know Felger was like, I don't do the AAV stuff. I do like the total money. Well, what if
only when it's convenient?
Of course.
yeah. Felger was like, I don't do AAV.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, but it's like, all right, from an AAV standpoint, Cora's right there with Counsell, and he has spoken many times about, I don't want to do this forever. What if Cora only wanted 3 years? We don't know that. Has anyone asked him the question? Like, did you ask for 5 and get told we're only going 3? Like, no, we don't know the answer to that. But I think, to me, and I've said this with Maz, I said this on Section 10, something changed. Because in April, I put it at 0%, not 0.001. I put it at 0% that Cora was returning. Something changed, and I want to know what that something was.
Well, that's something, is it related to what they're going to do here in the next 4 days until the trade deadline? Because he's been outspoken about wanting to add to this team. We heard Breslow the other day say, he seems like he's ready to hit the market here. So does Cora now believe that management is going to open up the wallet a little bit more and give him more to work with?
If you're Alex Cora, what's stopping you from waiting another 2 weeks to sign, to see what they do?
Right.
That's why it has to be some other factor here. Like, and Maz theorized, like, what if there's language in the contract that states they have to be in the top 25% in payroll, or if they're not, then he can opt out of the deal or something like that. I don't know. Like, I don't know anything about the specifics of the contract. He mentioned a lot about his family. And I know that, I think some people may think that's some sort of a red herring, but I tend to lean towards believing that, knowing, his family and how important they are to him. I think that it's a situation where he has the money. He's made more money now, or he will have made more money now as a manager than he did as a player. His daughter goes to college here. The twins, the boys have grown up here. Angelica, his partner, loves it here. So it might just be like he sat down with his family and said, all right, guys, what are we doing? What do you guys want to do? And if the overwhelming consensus was, we want to be here, we're happy here, Cora's the type of guy that'll be like, well, maybe I'm not super pumped about staying here, but if this is what you guys want, then I'll do that for you. Like, that's not BS to me. Like, that checks out to me, knowing Alex, the person.
Michael and I had a little bit of a disagreement earlier this morning about what level of attractiveness Cora would have had if he did hit the open market this offseason. Do you think there would have been teams banging down his door?
Absolutely. But I think when we kept talking about this, or fantasy booking where Alex Cora was going to go, almost always we were placing him on a team that, who knows if that job will be open. Everyone's like, man, we can't have.
Well, they're not all going to win, Michael. So one of them's going to be open.
Johnson is wrong. That's all we care
you
about.
can come back to BU anytime. Keep talking. You're making so much sense.
That.
Oh, you're brilliant. Professor, keep going, please.
That's me.
Michael thinks all 4 of the top teams in the league are gonna win the championship this year, and so none of them will have interest.
But you guys think everybody's going to fire their manager and just go and replace him, number one, with Alex Cora and pay him $8 million a year? It's not, like Jared just pointed out, it's not the NFL. I don't think that a manager in baseball is very rarely. We've seen it once here in New England, where Terry Francona replaces Grady, or twice John Farrell replaces Bobby Valentine.
Yeah.
But anyway, like, we've seen it, or Alex Cora replacing John Farrell. But for the most part, in baseball, has not been a sport where general managers say, I'm just one manager away from a World Series. They usually don't say that.
They truly don't. And I think, everyone talks about the Dodgers. If they didn't fire Dave Roberts after the 2018 World Series, when he kept trotting Ryan Madsen out there to give up bombs to the Red Sox in the World Series, he's got a job for life.
Yeah.
And Aaron Boone, for all the flack that he gets as the Yankees manager, he's got a 600 winning percentage as the Yankees manager. Aaron Judge, who they gave a boatload of money to be the Yankee captain, he's there until he's 40, loves the guy. I mean, Aaron Judge is almost in a LeBron spot where he picks the manager. It's not Brian Cashman. It's not Hal Steinbrenner. If Aaron Judge wants Aaron Boone as his manager, guess who's going to be the manager of the Yankees? Aaron Boone. So the only fit that I could really see, and it would have made a ton of sense, was if Rob Thompson in Philadelphia got fired, then Dave Dombrowski and Alex Cora getting back together. That made a lot of sense to me. But the Phillies are the best team in the National League. So it's like all these openings where we were fantasy booking Alex Cora to end up, I don't see them even having an opening next year.
All right, Jared, real quick before we say goodbye, how's the Tuesday show going? I saw you playing foosball with somebody. on Tuesday.
Yeah,
How's
Sarah
that
Perlman
going?
Mancini.
Yeah.
Yeah, no more foosball. Yeah, I want to watch the game. I think we are tinkering with different ideas. We're bringing in different co-hosts. Sarah was great. Pap's obviously been awesome. He did 2 of them. I think the next one is with Lenny DiNardo, so that'll be cool. We don't know as far as who the co-host will be for the next 5 after that. But it's a great concept. It's Nesson Plus on Tuesdays where we're just hanging out. It's kind of like a podcast is happening while the game is happening. I'm getting the Section 10 guys in the mix more often in the second half of these episodes that we're doing. So it's kind of learn as you go, but it's been really fun so far.
So you're telling me Milliken could be on the alternate broadcast and he could take his shirt off after?
Can we get
Durant
Nips
triple?
out on Nesson Plus? Is that
what's going to happen?
So he's been on one of them already, and the producer specifically said in my ear, if Durant hits a triple here, tell Tyler to keep his shirt on.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you.
too bad.
Thank you.
All right, Jared.
You guys
thanks a lot.
started that. You started that, and we can't unsee it.
I mean, it is cable. That stuff
Shame
should
on
be
all of
allowed.
you.
That's true. The
I
rules are
agree.
a little different. All
Bleep it
right.
out.
Thanks a lot. Good luck with everything, Jared.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, Jared Carabas. We will have the final segment of the show. Can we call it the lightning round? Well, maybe not. We're going to discuss the origin in the lightning round next. Ryan Johnston has the headlines here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub.
98.5 The Sports Hub in this hour of Toucher and Hardy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And the stack brought to you by Best Ford in Nashua. Looking for a great deal on a new Ford? Go to the Best Ford in Nashua. Head to thebestfordinc.com.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Hey, Dan actually just pointed something out during the commercial break. The lights on this floor of the building are triggered by movement.
Motion sensor lights.
Motion sensor lights.
Guess what didn't come on this morning?
The entire sales department, bullpen over there, has been dark for the last 3.5 hours.
Wow.
It's Friday. You guys nobody has felt that? Have you guys felt
Nobody.
But I was here yesterday. I didn't see him yesterday either.
Come on, Michael. I'm not trying to call
Thursday. I mean, who goes to work on Thursday?
Then you can't go on Monday.
Everybody's remote. Everyone's out.
Yeah, with the two-day work week.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you do like maybe a half a day on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I mean,
you talk yourself out of it, right?
Didn't know if you felt the emptiness of this building. I said at one point I walked down to use the restroom out in the hallway. I could hear the hum of the air conditioning unit because there was nothing else going on. There was none of the other offices, and I'm not just blaming us or pointing us out, but some of the other people that are in this building as well. You guys will probably see it when you go down to the garage to get in your vehicles to leave. There will be no other cars around.
I noticed that this morning, wide open.
Oh yeah,
but this morning, of course.
Is this a holiday?
No, yeah,
every day during the summer.
Make one up. Yes, it's a holiday for somebody all the time.
It is a ghost town in this building, especially on a Friday during the summer. Before we get to a couple other things, I wanted to real quick. We had something when Michael and I used to work together at the other place, the so-called competition. It was called the Lightning Round, and the Lightning Round was,
speaking of salespeople,
rapid. Let's get it sponsored. The Lightning Round was rapid fire calls where, Michael, what would we do? We'd clear the
screen, clear the board.
Clear the board.
We're gonna clear the board.
Clear the board, and Ryan, we do all of this. We take calls in rapid fire succession. Now, the trick to all of this was Michael instituted this when his broadcast partner was on vacation.
Well, we would do it when he was there. He hated it.
No, but first did it. Well, hold on. You first did it when he was on vacation. He came back to it and was not happy.
By then it was entrenched. You couldn't get rid of it.
Yeah, it was. I said it's a rags to riches story. But before he went on vacation, we had no sponsorship. Now we're sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts.
No, you're leaving that part out. What happened was, and I have a very clear memory of this. You did it. He came back. He didn't like it.
Yeah.
And just decided that we weren't going to do it.
Yeah.
So the next time that he went on vacation, not only did Michael reinstitute it, then he got it sponsored. So when Dale came back from vacation, he couldn't get rid of it.
So Dan O'Brien, what you're hearing is, when the sales department is not here, I'm still working. Okay, I'll get a sponsorship for you. You should be out there getting us sponsors. But if you're not going to do it, I'll get you one.
High production value on the Lightning Round as well.
Oh, it was great.
617-779-0985. Let's see if we can get one call before the end of it.
One call.
We have some people. We did not do the email bit, but I do have some comments.
I got an idea. Let's do the email. The email bit.
The email bit. So we have this from Mr. Parker. Okay, so the coffee issue is a problem, not just because they sell their own, but because staff there wouldn't know if you put alcohol or something in it. It's a liability for the establishment. This goes back to what...
We have to explain this because this was like 3.5 hours ago.
No, I was about to. This goes back to Michael bringing his own coffee into a bakery and them being upset about it.
Yeah, but then if that's a problem, they don't know who's liable. They don't know what you have in there. Say, please, no outside beverages. Just say no. Just put a sign on the door. I respect it. Just right with the sign that says no shoots, no shoes, no shirts, no service. Put no beverages, and then I'll abide by the rules.
So
but
this,
if you don't
this
have
gentleman
no
behind the counter just
allowed,
pointed out to Michael, who was carrying an outside coffee with him, hey, we sell coffee here.
No, but he didn't say that. He said in a snarky way, like, hey, what do you? Basically, he should have. I would have felt better if he had cussed me out. What? Don't be snarky. I know you have coffee and tea and juice and all this and almond milk and all this other stuff. I know what you got. But I'm about to buy some cake right here, so leave me the hell alone.
We have something from James here, and we were talking about whether or not Drake May should be the starting quarterback or not. According to James, he says, we just watched the Patriots destroy a quarterback. No way am I pushing for this kid to play. Wait, get everything settled. Let him see what it all looks like and take it in, take it in before he hits the field.
What's his name?
James.
James. Okay, this is what I'm going to do with you, James. It's going to be you, me, Wallach, RJ. We're all going to go to group hypnosis. We're gonna allow ourselves to be hypnotized, and what's going to happen is we're going to remove the memory of Mac Jones and Joe Judge and Matt Patricia and Bill O'Brien. We're going to remove all of that from our brains, and so when we come out of it, we're just going to look at a quarterback situation for what it is and stop tagging back to Mac Jones. This is not Mac Jones. We're never going to do that again. We're never going to see that again. So many bad things happened there. It wasn't just ruining a quarterback. It was ruining a culture, an offensive culture. That's what happened in Foxborough the last 2 years. An offensive culture was destroyed, scorched earth, that it set offense back 40 years. We're never going to do that again. Stop talking about Mac Jones.
But the offensive line is a mess, and Drake May
It's
as
going to
good
be.
as
It's not
good
gonna be
as he
perfect.
is. I think it matters a
John,
great deal.
you know what it is? You know what it's like, John? It's like being a dad. Before you were a dad, you could have said to yourself, I'm going to wait until everything is perfect for me to become a dad. And no, it's never going to be perfect.
I don't want perfect, Michael. I just want passable at this point.
You just got.
I want a passable offensive line to protect this kid.
It's never going to be perfect.
Well, we're going to have Zolak and Bertrand live.
Just
from camp.
live.
They can continue this discussion real
Just
quick.
Start living.
We have the Summer Olympics opening ceremonies are this afternoon Eastern time in Paris, but soccer is already underway. And Canada, the defending women's gold medalists,
Cheaters.
just fired their head coach yesterday. Why? Because they were deploying drones to check out their opposition's practice. If drones were around in Bill Belichick's time, would he or would he not have used them?
Oh.
True or false?
Yeah, he would have used them. But then they're so obvious. Come on, that's not a stealth mission. They're drones. What did they think was going to happen? Hey, there's something above our practice field. Every time we practice, there's these drones are up here. What's going on? It's not a secret mission at all, right?
That's true.
Hey,
but Bill would have figured out
Bill
a way.
was sneaky. He had the cameras.
The stealth fighter, he would have had a stealth drone hovering over so you couldn't hear it, and it was high enough so he could take pictures.
He had the guy wearing the NFL Films vest. That's the way
There's
to do
no
it.
stealth to anything with Bill. All right, Michael, good to see you as always. Thanks
Good
for coming in.
job,
RJ, good to see you too. The boys will be back tomorrow. Everyone will be back in their normal spots.
Monday.
Thanks to Dan. Thanks to Nick.
No one's going to be here tomorrow.
Thanks to Mike. And all of us are back on Monday. Zolak and Bertrand live from camp coming up next. Thank you all for listening. Have a good weekend. Goodbye.